It is an invaluable and essential layer, fabric that makes up our arts community source.
I didn't really associated with the theater scene. Company One, Fresh Ink, Flat, and be able to meet all of the associated and working with them. If it wasn't for the job postings I saw from StageSource, I don't think I would have had that chance. And because of that, beginning of my Boston theater career, I didn't really know anyone associated with the theater scene. But because of StageSource, I had opportunities to audition and then work for really wonderful companies like Company One, Fresh Ink, Flat Earth, and then be able to meet all of the really great people associated and working with them. If it wasn't for the job postings I saw from StageSource, I don't think I would have had that chance. And because of that, I'm really, really grateful.
When I moved to Boston as an early career actor almost 10 years ago, StageSource was an incredibly simple way to quickly understand the pulse of the city, who was auditioning when, what shows to see, and so much more. As a headshot photographer now, I always put StageSource at the top of the list of resources for clients who are new to the area. It is a must-have for anyone who wants to participate in the vibrant Boston theater scene.
StageSource is the go-to resource for Boston theater. From auditions and job postings to classes and workshops, it is an invaluable and essential layer in the fabric that makes up our arts community. We love you, StageSource.
At the beginning of my Boston theater career, I didn't really know anyone associated with the theater scene. But because of StageSource, I had opportunities to audition and then work for really wonderful companies like Company One, Fresh Ink, Flat Earth, and then be able to meet all of the really great people associated and working with them. If it wasn't for the job postings I saw from StageSource, I don't think I would have had that chance. And because of that, I'm really, really grateful.
When I moved to Boston as an early career actor almost 10 years ago, StageSource was an incredibly simple way to quickly understand the pulse of the city, who was auditioning when, what shows to see, and so much more. As a headshot photographer now, I always put StageSource at the top of the list of resources for clients who are new to the area. It is a must-have for anyone who wants to participate in the vibrant Boston theater scene.
StageSource is the go-to resource for Boston theater. From auditions and job postings to classes and workshops, it is an invaluable and essential layer in the fabric that makes up our arts community. We love you, StageSource.
At the beginning of my Boston theater career, I didn't really know anyone associated with the theater scene. But because of StageSource, I had opportunities to audition and then work for really wonderful companies like Company One, Fresh Ink, Flat Earth, and then be able to meet all of the really great people associated and working with them. If it wasn't for the job postings I saw from StageSource, I don't think I would have had that chance. And because of that, I'm really, really grateful.
When I moved to Boston as an early career actor almost 10 years ago, StageSource was an incredibly simple way to quickly understand the pulse of the city, who was auditioning when, what shows to see, and so much more. As a headshot photographer now, I always put StageSource at the top of the list of resources for clients who are new to the area. It is a must-have for anyone who wants to participate in the vibrant Boston theater scene.
StageSource is the go-to resource for Boston theater. From auditions and job postings to classes and workshops, it is an invaluable and essential layer in the fabric that makes up our arts community. We love you, StageSource.
At the beginning of my Boston theater career, I didn't really know anyone associated with the theater scene. But because of StageSource, I had opportunities to audition and then work for really wonderful companies like Company One, Fresh Ink, Flat Earth, and then be able to meet all of the really great people associated and working with them. If it wasn't for the job postings I saw from StageSource, I don't think I would have had that chance.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Who am I? I am Elbert Joseph. I'm a man. My pronouns are he, him, they, and them. I'm wearing an orange polo shirt with a blue polo logo. I have a chocolate complexion. I wear glasses and I have short black hair. And I would now like to introduce.
Hi, I am Olivia Dumaine, and my pronouns are she, her,
Yay!
her.
You signed your own name.
Trying. I'm an actor in Boston, as well as an intimacy director and the managing director of Acropolis Stage. And I am a white cis woman in my mid-20s. I have long, wavy brown hair, and I am wearing a red dress with cherries on it.
I forgot to say what my job is. I'm an actor and an ASL consultant and an ASL theater performance interpreter. And you know that StageSource has long been known for its job fair and its auditions, and how those are avenues for individual members and organizations to connect. And as part of that evolution, StageSource saw the creation of sector improvement initiatives.
Yeah, the sector improvement initiatives are part of building a safer workplace for all of our artists and administrators, as well as serving as a resource to guide the organizations who need the support.
Yes. Now, even though we were faced with the pandemic, through it, the sector improvement initiatives have continued. So today we are going to be joined by select members of the different initiatives to tell us a bit about what's in store for next year.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this. We are going to start today with Gender Explosion. So I'm going to welcome in everyone from Gender Explosion.
Hi, folks.
Hello. So we are part of the Gender Explosion crew. I am John Meredith. I use they, them pronouns. I am white with curly brown hair, orange glasses, wearing a colorful teal and pink shirt, and I'm in front of a jade wall covered in posters and pictures.
I'm Gina. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. I am the membership manager here at StageSource and a member of Gender Explosion. I'm a white, fat, non-binary person. I have short brown hair. I'm wearing gold glasses today, a black button-down shirt, and silver collar clips of little hands.
Hello. So we are going to talk to you about the different work that Gender Explosion has been doing in terms of creating an inclusive environment for theater artists. Gina, do you want to start us off by talking about what Gender Explosion is?
Absolutely. So Gender Explosion is one of our sector improvement initiatives that aims to help make New England theater more inclusive to trans and non-binary artists. We do this partially through trans inclusion work with artists and organizations, and partially through community building and support. John, do you want to talk about a little bit how Gender Explosion got started, since you were there for that?
I wasn't there for the very beginning, but I have been here for quite a bit of it. Gender Explosion started back at a StageSource conference. There was a breakout room called Shifting the Binary, and it was a breakout group talking about gender inclusion and breaking the binary in theater. And the people in that room got really into the conversation, and it continued outside of the StageSource conference. And they continued meeting semi-regularly just to talk about the issues of trans inclusion. And eventually, after I joined StageSource, we decided that we needed a place for trans artists to come together and to talk about the issues that were facing them, where they said we needed to go, and where things were going well. And so we had a closed meeting with just trans and non-binary artists in New England. And we chatted for quite a while. And basically that turned into a whole bunch of different things. We wound up writing a essay for HowlRound called Beyond the Bathrooms. And that was basically started because we saw a lot of theaters were doing really well with creating those gender neutral restrooms. That was one thing that theaters were doing like surprisingly well across the board. At a lot of places, it was really coming into conversations. But we need to move beyond the bathrooms. It can't just be having gender neutral bathrooms. That's phenomenal, but there's a lot of other stuff that needs to be done. So we wrote about how we can keep going and keep this momentum moving forward. And some other things cropped up from that. We made a video series. We made some infographics, and we've been continuing meeting and developing different training resources for the people of Boston. Gina, do you want to talk about some of those things we've been doing over the last year?
Yeah, we've been super busy over the last year putting together some really incredible programming that we're really excited about. So one program that we've already sort of soft launched earlier in this year are Gender Explosion consultations. It's an opportunity to bring trans artists into organizational spaces to work at various stages of the theatrical process, including season selection, marketing, and creating trans inclusive environments. We piloted this work with Speakeasy Stage Company, working with them on harm reduction strategies and creating trans inclusive practices within some of their productions. We were brought in by artists who were involved in the production, as well as the Speakeasy staff, who asked us if we could help them tackle a series of concerns around, the production. So we put together a team comprised of Gender Explosion members, some of whom were involved in the work, and some other Speakeasy staff to develop marketing, programming, and other practices to help center the experience and safety of trans folks who may be affected by the production, and to keep this work at the forefront for their future productions. It was a great opportunity for us to test out this program for orgs who want to welcome trans stories and artists into their spaces. So this then grew into some other really exciting work that we're about to launch, a series of trans inclusion trainings that we'll be offering the wider community. John, do you want to talk a little bit about those?
So we've been doing this sort of consulting and training semi-officially for a while, having created Gender Explosion and putting out our various resources on pronouns and language. People know that we're a resource, and they've come to us with questions about, can you read this casting notice? Do you have any leads on trans artists? So there's been sort of unofficial things that people come to us about, and we've really been working on codifying those things and developing them into their fullest potential, and bringing more people on board to make sure that we can get as many people as possible the training that they need and that they want and that they've been asking for. So one of the big things we've been working on is creating a set of 3 trainings that we've for now called Gender Explosion 101, 201, and 301. So 3 different levels of training depending on your needs and your experience with trans inclusion. So the first one, 101, the binary basics. So that is a self-paced training program to sort of prime these conversations. So rather than spending a lot of time in person on the nitty gritty, there's a lot of phenomenal resources out there made by us and made by plenty of other people. So this 101 training is to really get those basics on what are pronouns, what is being trans, what issues do trans people face. So really get those foundations. That way, when you come in for the 201 training in person or these days on Zoom, you're ready. You're prepped for these in-depth, nuanced conversations. And we'll work with you to chat about how gender inclusion and theater intersect. So there's a lot of really great gender inclusion training out in the world, but what Gender Explosion is bringing is the specifics about how that intersects with the needs and the nuances of theater, since they're very different from a general 9-to-5 this job. Our needs are very different. And so our goal is to really dive into those issues in person and ask the questions and create a space where you can ask these questions that you don't know where else to ask them. And then finally, we have the 301, and these are really deep dives. So these are ideally for a full theater company, or if you're focusing on a specific project, something that can focus on a specific field or a topic. So things like directing, marketing, administration of running a theater company, stage management, season planning. So these really specific things, and 301 will bring in people in those fields, trans people in those fields, to talk about the specifics of really getting into the nitty gritty of how do you make a directing process that is inclusive? How do you be a stage manager and make your practices as inclusive as possible? And so we have these 3 levels so that we can bring everyone into the conversation and find everyone's different needs to bring everyone up, since we know that not everyone has, some people have no understanding of trans issues because perhaps they haven't intersected with these conversations before. And some people have been working on it for a long time. And so the 101 isn't helpful for them. And they need to know specifically, how do I add this to my directing practices or whatever it may be? And so we are working on building out these syllabi, and we're working on training trainers so that we can have more than just me and Gina running these trainings, but we can have the capacity to train all the people who need to be trained. And so we can have, directors who are trained to hold these conversations. We can have administrators and marketers and people across all walks of life and experiences ready to spread the good word and to really create safe environments for trans and non-binary artists.
Yeah, and you're going to see this launched on our website sometime in the next week or two. And if you're an organization who wants to learn about trans inclusion and making your organization a more, a safer place for trans artists, keep an eye on our website, keep an eye on your email, read your email. We're launching that in the next couple of weeks. And I think that we're going to talk a little bit about the overlap with our Line Drawn initiative. So I'm going to tap out and tap in our executive director.
Wait, but what if I'm an individual who wants to know how to get involved with Line Drawn? How do I, gender explosion. Or gender explosion too. How do I do that if I'm an individual?
If you're an individual who wants to get involved with either Gender Explosion or Line Drawn or any of our sector improvement initiatives, you can do so on our website, stagesource.org. You'll see a sector improvement tab in the menu. Click on the one that you're interested in and you'll be able to join the Google group. And if you're having trouble finding that, you can send me an email at ops@stagesource.org. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to bring in our executive director, Dawn Simmons.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, everyone. Dawn Simmons, Executive Director of StageSource. I am a middle-aged Black woman. I'm wearing glasses. I have curly hair, but it is pulled back. I am in front of a whitish, beigeish wall with a glass other wall. And I'm proudly wearing my Boston Plays Wicked Had t-shirt, which my really great friend, Elise over at Greater Boston Stage created for Theater Community Benevolent Fund, another incredible organization, started here at StageSource, and the folks running that are killing the game. Things that I want to just say, thank you all for being with us for this long. And thank you for sticking with us through our technical difficulties. We are grateful for those of you that have come back. And if those technical difficulties are any indication, this is why we need your support. Your support helps us do these things and to keep advancing the level at which we provide these services. So please, if you have not made a donation, make one now. Tell your friends, share all this goodness with them. Make sure that they are joining us for the rest of the evening. We've got a lot of great stuff coming up. Sorry, I would be remiss if I didn't ask for a donation. Being me, that's my job. That's literally my job, y'all. So I'm here now to talk about the Line Drawn Initiative. And I think for me and this organization, the sector improvement is some of the most inspiring and I think game-changing work that this organization is able to participate in. Line Drawn Initiative is a partnership with our good friends at Impact Boston. Meg Stone has been helping us lead this charge over the last, let's say, 3 years. And Line Drawn was born out of conversations and workshops that Meg was having with our then executive director, Julie Henriquez. Hi, Julie, thank you for your donations. And starting with a bystander training class they had, and then having conversations with those in attendance with that class to say, there's got to be more that we can do to start to address the sexual harm that happens in our theater community. The way in which we behave, the way in which we carry ourselves, I think part of what's so wonderful about working theater is that we do get to be casual and we do call ourselves friends and family, but within that, it sort of loosens boundaries. Sometimes there are things that we used to take for granted as standard practice. And the folks who started these line drawn conversations were like, that might have been okay in the past. Let me rephrase that. It was never okay, but it was something that we tolerated. It was something that we dealt with. And how do we start changing this? And I think one of the big catalysts, not just the Me Too movement, but how that was coming to bear in our own community. People coming out in support of artists who have been talking about, right, this harm that had been happening to them in the past. Articles that had come out about what was going on within our own theater community here in New England and in the nation at large. And so again, the beauty of StageSource is this germ of an idea between 2 people, maybe 5 people, and then how that spreads. So because we just sort of say, okay, this is the concern right now, let's get a bunch of people together and think tank it. What then happened, I believe, and Julie and Meg will correct me, I'm sure if I'm wrong, but just a call to, let's have a conversation. Let's start talking about this. Let's start talking about what is going on in our own community. We looked at our needs, I think, in relief of the Not in Our House standards, which were created in Chicago to deal with the same thing, how folks were dealing with sexual harm in the workplace, in theater specifically, and then sort of looking at community standards and sort of ground rules in which organizations and individuals were no longer going to tolerate egregious behavior. And so the community came together, our community came together over a series of conversations. And again, things that were marvelous about this, it was organizations and individuals working together in conversation, saying these are our concerns. And what was crucial was having Meg Stone and Impact Boston to come in and lead these conversations, moderate these conversations, right? As things get contentious, right? They were holding those tensions for us and looking at the needs of individuals with the sort of financial concerns of organizations, also looking at like, what does HR look like? How do we start to talk about this? And what came out of that was a sort of twofold process that we then funneled down into first steps. So after a series of conversations, what the community decided it needed was a set of standards that we would all agree to, so that if you went to any theater within at least the StageSource membership, or let's say within the 495 belt, you knew what you were getting into. You knew what each organization was not willing to tolerate, and what repercussions, next steps, how to escalate things up a chain of command would be. The second was an idea that we might have a sort of separate HR arm that would look at things if a report had been made, if someone tried to step up the chain of command and an accusation or a report of harm or violence or harassment was not taken seriously, is there somewhere else that people could go and sort of and make those ideas known? And so StageSource talked with Impact Boston to say, before we even move into this idea of an outside reporting agency, before we get into that and what all the legalities are, why don't we look at first really deeply, what are the standards that we all would like to agree to live by? And let's see how we can sort of pilot that as a program, asking theater companies to agree to these standards and then to agree to be reported on and to report on themselves to see if we can handle this within our own organizations before trying to create something else. And so what came out of that, the line drawn initiative, first, let's say our series of standards, and I'm sorry, I'm looking away from you all, I'm trying to pull those up on my computer with some slow internet. So hang on just a second. La, 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 la. It's gonna happen for us. Here we go. And so with these standards, we're changing them now. And this was sort of what we went through during the pandemic. But at the time, we had 9 standards that we were laying out. These standards included equity, diversity, and inclusion, clearly communicated policies, holding everyone equally accountable, prompt organizational response, intimacy direction, conscientious, continuous consent, conscientious private sessions, ongoing training, safe changing spaces, and safety for minors. And so those were sort of like, this was our first pass at, these are high level bullet points of what we want to address. And then within those community standards, y'all, sorry, I'm so sorry, everybody. We're in a small room and we see everything that everybody here is doing. We looked at, we named these sort of 10 standards, and then each standard, and you can find these on our website. I would pull them into the chat, but I don't want to move away from the screen as I am not the most tech savvy right now. But right, so we go through each one of these standards and sort of lay out what they mean to the community. And this was a first pass that we took, I would say, in 2019. We had 10 organizations that were willing to sort of take these on and look at them in terms of, okay, now how do we implement these standards? How do we get the organization then to sign off on implementing them, to be a line drawn organization? We were giving designation that you were going to follow these standards. You had to agree to at least 8 of the 10. 10 companies were willing to pilot this with us in the beginning. And what they agreed to do was then submit to surveying of the artists, board, staff, and creatives to see how these were implemented. And we know full well that at certain points, there will be some companies that are like, nothing has happened. And that's the ideal, right? The ideal is no harm happens. The ideal is you never have to implement these. But if you do, then the question of, okay, something happened, and how did the organization address it? Did it adhere to the standards that it said it would? If at some point it missed the mark, if an organization missed the mark, how did it change course? How did it make things right? Unfortunately, with the pandemic, that initiative was stalled. And so what it allowed us to do was actually to go back and look at all of those standards that we had put in place, and now bring in, again, individuals and organizations, but organizations of all sizes. So we had some of our largest organizations with budgets over like $2 million or more, and small organizations with budgets of like $5,000, along with the individuals that they employ. And what we did during the course of the pandemic was to actually go through each one of these standards line by line to look at, like, does the language make sense? Is this attainable, right? Is this something that we actually need to do? Is it something that we thought we needed? Does the language, when I say make sense, right? Do we think we know what we're talking about, or do we actually know what we're talking about? And so we were able to have these really in-depth conversations about, okay, this is how the standard, as I read it, impacts me, impacts my theater. How do I think that we might be able to fulfill this standard? Right? In some instances, right? Like some standards don't apply to certain companies. In some instances, all of the standards apply to a company. And so it gave us the chance to sort of figure out, okay, how do we think that this, when it is time to implement, what do we think this is going to look like? And our good friend, John Meredith here, as well as Meg Stone, are sort of have looked at this to say, okay, great. And now let's synthesize. Wow, I can't get that word today at all. But let's now drill down with everything that we've learned and actually really clean this up, so that, again, going back to an earlier conversation that we had, that we have language that is intentional, that is actionable, and that everybody believes in, right? We're so great. I think one of our strengths is being able to act quickly, when something comes to our attention. But now we were able to go back and not just be quick and thoughtful, but to like dig in deeper. And it's one of the things that I'm really proud of with StageSource was, again, taking the time that the pandemic gave us to really dive into these things. So we were able to sort of look at these, and this is, John, where I'll ask you to talk a little bit with the lens towards intersectionality, right? I think when we first come to these conversations, this is about when we were first having these conversations, it was about a very specific type of harm. But I think as we grow and as we learn, right, sexual harassment of any kind sort of touches all of us. John?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly when we started this, the intention was fully on sexual harassment, and that's absolutely like a main part of this, but all forms of harassment and abuse of power tend to come from similar roots and similar causes, and can have similar measures put in place to get rid of them. In terms of intersectionality, I think that's been really core, partially because people of different marginalized identities, and especially if you inhabit multiple of them, whether you're a woman, a person of color, queer, disabled, you're far more likely to be on the receiving end of harassment. And so those are the people who the most need protection and need policies in place to make sure that they are specifically addressed in terms of preventing harassment. Additionally, if harassment does occur, people of marginalized identities are less likely to speak up for a huge number of reasons, whether it's fear of future harassment, fear of future employment. You know, if you're a trans person, there's only so many roles in any given season for trans actors. And so if you cause a ruckus in this one production, who's to say the next time you'll get cast? as well as just a fear of being seen as the difficult person. If you're in the room in a marginalized identity and there's no one else there, you represent that identity. If I'm the only trans person in the room, I'm like the face of trans people. And so if I'm speaking up against things that I see going wrong, I can feel that pressure of like, I'm representing all trans people. And if I'm speaking out against a bunch of things, they'll go, trans people are a lot to work with. We're not going to hire trans people anymore. Which sounds silly, but is very much a thing that happens. And so really working to ensure that these standards cover everyone across all experiences has been definitely a key focus during this process.
Yeah. So again, what I'm proud of for StageSource and the community was that so much the intersectionality of the individuals, but the organizations, where each organization is in its own growth. And that as we were having these conversations, there was sort of, everybody felt like they were on equal footing. Right? Everybody's voice was heard. And when voices weren't, there was always somebody else speaking up for somebody else, or reinforcing or making sure that points didn't get dropped. And I think this is the beauty of the New England theater community. When we are really pressed to it, and these sort of back end administrative things, this is where we really shine. Right? We dig into this work because we are looking to make sure that the ways in which we work, right? The way in which we all come into these spaces gets better every time, so that the work and the people behind the scenes, right, are able to do their best work to put on art that is excellent, right? And you can make art that is excellent when you are freer on the back end. And I don't know, Line Drawn has just been a really, I think, exquisite example of how we are able to come together. And I think Line Drawn Gender Explosion, right, is coming into that spot, right, is taking up that kind of space in our not just our organization, but in our community as, right, this is how we take care of ourselves. This is how we hold ourselves accountable. This is how we grow and change. And it takes folks who are willing to come in, do the work, have the hard conversations, volunteer, and push each other. And so this document, again, what you're seeing on the website, I understand it's been put in the chat now, is going to look different in the next 2 months. And our hope is that what we will do now that we have had these conversations and brought more people in, is that we will have more folks to pilot this with us, and that this becomes the standard for New England, right? And again, with these things, they are living documents. We're starting here, but I think there's more that we can add. We will find out as we pilot this over the next year, right? What's missing, what doesn't work, and we will change and we will adapt accordingly. But it has been a really incredible journey. And some of the things that we have done, I think, to keep that work alive, we held several classes earlier on in 2019 on intimacy design, right? And intimacy direction, and just starting to get the basic tenets of that. We've held bystander trainings, and we were able to do some of those even during the pandemic, just so that we don't lose touch with this. And that has been really, really helpful in sort of remembering this stuff also can happen digitally, right? I hate to say that, but it can happen in all sorts of worlds. So we stay ever vigilant, and we are always training and we are always growing. And we hope that you will look for these classes as I am certain they will come back as we start to get into actual physical production and meeting again and producing. So that is where we are with Line Drawn. You will see us piloting this in the very near future. Friends, what's next on the agenda? Excellent. Excellent. EJ and Olivia, can we welcome you all back? Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much to John, to Dawn, to Gina for explaining all your wonderful work. about gender explosion as well as line drawn. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to see what lies ahead.
Thank you for having us. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
I just want to put a plug in for donations as well. Please, please, please support StageSource. Donate, and keep donating. Olivia, any last words?
The programming that Dawn mentioned, specifically for intimacy direction, I would have never have had access to if it wasn't for StageSource. They brought a program that I would have had to travel to, I would have had to overnight, and because of StageSource and because of their wonderful programming, I'm working toward getting licensed. So give them money, give them all of your money. But up next, I don't want to jump too far ahead. We have some exciting things. We do have another video from the StageSource Video Vault. But first, we do want to thank some of the people who have donated. So stay tuned for that. That's up next. Some of the people who have donated, I want to thank Steve W. Major thank you to you. Mal, thank you for watching. Thank you for donating. Je and Margar Banzo at bradydoll.com. You know, I can't see you.
Thank you so much, everyone that's donated.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep the donations coming. We truly, truly could not do what we do in Boston without you. So now.
So what do we have going on next?
Mm-hmm.
Good evening.
I'm pretty
Sam
excited.
Gould. I'm a white female
We have
with salt and pepper hair,
StageSource
and
Video
tonight I
Vault,
have
right?
glasses
Mentioned
on
that.
my head and a
I think
gray
you might
cowl
see
sweater dress on.
some familiar
I'm
faces
from Open Door Theater in
I don't
Acton,
know.
Mass.
This panel was part of our business in virtual theater series.
Hi, I'm
The
Corey
Business of
Couture,
Virtual Theater
and I am
Accessibility
an audio
panel had
describer.
an honest
I'm
conversation
a
about
55-year-old
virtual
white woman
accessibility
with
and
shoulder-length
things
dark
to consider
hair,
as we move into the future.
and blue
The
and
panel
bone-colored
included
glasses.
EJ
And I'm wearing a
Joseph,
green turtleneck and a
Corey
red
Couture,
long
Cheryl
sweatshirt.
Cummings, J. Samantha Gould, and interpretation by Show Grant
I'm Cheryl
and
Cummings.
Letitia
I'm the
Bino.
executive director.
So
of,
for anyone
Our
who
Space,
missed
Our
that
Place.
conversation,
It's an after-school program for kids who are
make
blind
sure.
and low
Hello, I have
vision.
StageSource
I'm
back.
African American, probably more gray than any other color in my hair, and wearing a turtleneck sweater.
The video is playing.
Amazing, amazing.
We're doing great, y'all.
I guess
We're
I'll
doing
jump
great.
in next.
Yep.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Elbert Joseph. And Show is my voice interpreter for the evening. I'm deaf. I have black short hair. I'm using glasses tonight. I'm wearing a blue t-shirt with a Polar Express logo. Did we make some changes or? And I'm glad to see everyone here.
Thank you
I think it's
all
already
for
playing.
joining us and for being here. All right, we're going to dive right in. I'm at 2 computers today, so if I look off to the side, it is not because I am not paying attention to you, but mostly because I'm referring to my questions. So we're going to start with talking about some making digital theater questions, and I'm going to turn to Corey first to talk about her time working with New Rep on making audio described, doing audio description for some of their plays. And so, you know, can you tell me a little bit about it, like when you were brought into the process?
Sure. Yes. So I've done a couple of projects for New Rep in the last 6 to 7 months, I guess. Most recently was a pair of virtual plays that they did. And I actually was brought in right at the beginning of the production process, which is unusual for me. Normally, I don't come in until close to opening night, where I'll come in and videotape a show in the theater and then go home and describe it, and then come back maybe to check in a couple times, and then on the days when I'm actually offering the description. For this, however, New Rep had me involved in the conversations from really not the earliest design discussions or anything like that, but once the actors started coming in and the directors were working with the actors, and the tech team was starting to figure out how this was all going to work, I was brought in and able to be involved in conversations much earlier than usual. It was great. And the team kept me very much in the loop the entire time. And I got a lot of, I'm relatively good at the technical stuff, but there were plenty of things that were new about this. And so there was great technical support from the team for, how to interact with Zoom and how to figure out the timing of doing audio description for something that was live but virtual, because sometimes there's lag and things like that. Anyway, so they brought me in very early, and it was a very good experience overall.
And can you speak to a little bit about how you sort of organized yourself for the process?
Let's see. Well, I'm trying to think how to answer that. I was working from the script a decent amount, and then I was watching during the rehearsal process, and trying to create my descriptions as much as I could before the shows were completely finished, while they were still in process. One of the reasons that I often come to rehearsals very late in the rehearsal process is because I want to see what the finished product is. Because, my job is to describe what we are seeing on stage, and not so much about, the intent behind it, that sort of thing. So I don't want to do too much interpreting of what's happening. I want to be reporting, but, artfully kind of thing. And so for these shows, I was jumping into watch rehearsals more than I normally would, and taking notes, and also some of these rehearsals were being recorded, so I was able to sit down and kind of work my way through writing the descriptions. The way I normally work is I'm looking at video, and then I have a script that I'm writing at the same time. And my big challenge is to write my descriptions so that they fit in the pauses in the dialogue, or in this case, monologues. And, sort of weaving them through, so I'm not talking over important things that are happening, and I'm not talking over what people are saying. The second of the two virtual plays was particularly challenging, because both of these pieces were written as if they were Instagram live events. And the second one involved a very active conversation between the character and her followers. And so there was a running stream of commentary coming from, her fictitious followers on Instagram. So not only was I describing what she was doing on screen, which was not necessarily complicated. A lot of the show, she's just in front of the screen, and there's not a lot happening. It's just a person who's a talking head. However, these comments were very much part of the story. And so we had to figure out how to have those comments voiced separate from my descriptions, and also set up so that the two things wouldn't overlap with each other. So that started to be a really complicated tangle of things for us to figure out. And we ended up having, I ended up writing a script based on all of the commentary that was in the script, and then having 5 different actors read those comments, and then they were integrated into a separate file by the sound designer for the show. And so I was, during the actual production, running both the sound file and reading my descriptions and trying to make sure the timing of those things all was clear and not overlapping. And anyway, it was a big, very different kind of challenge. It was just very different from the way that I normally work. And, but in a great way. It was really good. There was lots of input from Dawn Simmons from StageSource, who directed that second show in particular. Everybody, yeah, anyhow, so that's how that one was particularly challenging.
Thank you so much for sharing.
You bet.
I have one more question for you, Corey, that sort of comes from the community. Now, when we're looking to budget for adding audio description to a show, what are we looking at in terms of rate? How much should companies be looking to set aside when doing this work?
Yeah, well, I will say that's a challenging question at the best of times. During COVID, it's trickier. I would say normally I would recommend that a theater set aside something in the range of $1,500 to $2,000 to be to have the show described. Normally, we would have two separate describers, one writing a pre-show description that talks about the sets, props, costumes, what the actors look like, conventions in the show, and then a primary describer who's providing the description during the show. So we would encourage people to, theaters to budget for both of those positions, those two people. And for COVID, it's been challenging to figure out how to charge the theaters as a provider, because everybody was in really rough financial circumstances this year, not having actual audiences coming into the theaters. So, I came to arrangements with each of the theaters where I was charging considerably less. That said, doing shows online like this actually presents a lot of challenges that don't exist when you're doing live theater. So in some ways, I actually was probably doing 2 or 3 times as much work as I would normally do, but for far less money. So as we move forward, I think there's a conversation to have around how to make sure that describers like myself are getting compensated in a way that is commensurate with the number of hours and the kind of work that we're doing. And I think that, this is a world just like everything else with theater where we're kind of feeling our way and trying to figure out how to work with this. I know I am always willing to negotiate with a theater and figure out what's going to work for them. But there's a slight danger of there being a trend, and this is true in all aspects of theater, that people are willing to be paid less just to be able to do some work. But then, at what point do we start to transition back to everybody getting paid the normal amount they would, It's tricky.
Yeah, this is Jazz here, but thank you. That is a very good point that you bring up about making sure that we're continuing with pay equity. I see that Sam is in the stack, and so I'd love to give Sam a chance to chat and contribute to this.
Yeah, Sam speaking. Just to pile on that, access is a critical budget item that you should always budget in your show from the beginning for the access. But also nobody panic, because there are companies out there that are willing and able to pay for funding for audio description and ASL interpretation. So it's a critical path that you should make sure that you're budgeting for upfront.
Jasmine here, can you just repeat that one bit? I lost you. That who's willing to contribute money toward?
Oh, there's always grant funding out there for access. It's fundraising is a hard thing to do in the theater world, but access fundraising is slightly easier. And grant fundraising, grant writing, and grant applications are available for access 99.9% of the time, which is great news.
Thank you. Thank you so much for bringing that knowledge. If I were a person looking to apply for grants, where would you suggest I start by looking?
No, in this climate, it might be a little different, but generally, the Massachusetts Cultural Council is a great resource. StageSource has been a resource in the past. I also go to my local banks and my local Rotary clubs and my local United Ways for access funding, because those are organizations that are usually willing to help out when you're looking for funding for access accommodations for performances.
Thank you, Sam. That is wonderful, information. I would never even think to go to banks and Rotary clubs. I see that EJ is in the chat, and so I'm going to let EJ speak next.
Yes, I would like to add to the comment from Sam. Access is very important. It's very important that you budget it in. Often access, there's a budget for the audio description, there's a budget for the ASL interpreters. But we often forget to add ASL coach and ASL coach into the budget. And that is a part of the interpreting team. An ASL coach is a necessary part of the team, and they need to get paid as well. So it's really hard for the ASL team if that is not budgeted in. And we should, kind of shy away from using the word as ASL interpreter, ASL interpreter. It's really an ASL team, and the entire team should be budgeted for. And that includes the ASL coach. So it's the ASL interpreters and the ASL coach as a team, and make sure that everyone is compensated fairly, not just the interpreters, but also the ASL coach for the work that they do and contribute to the team. So I just wanted to add that as well. Also, if you're doing a show with deaf actors on the stage, there's that additional item that needs to be added to the budget, as well as a director of ASL, which is different from the ASL coach. So that must be an additional line item in your budget for the director of ASL, who will be working with the deaf actors on the stage. So if you have the money for the production team, then therefore you should have the money for a director of ASL as a part of that production team.
Hi, this is Jasmine just jumping in. A question from the community. Can you explain a little bit more about the ASL team, the members, and then also the director of artistic sign language to be a part of that production team? Just what are those roles for those who have not worked with ASL interpreters or teams before?
Yes, sure. So the ASL team is for the access. It's for the accommodation of providing access. So first you need to hire a deaf person, not a hearing person and not a hearing interpreter, a deaf person as the consultant. And then let that deaf person as the consultant find the interpreters that will be a part of the ASL team. It could be hearing interpreters, it could be deaf interpreters, it could be people with a theater background, people who are bilingual. It's the ASL coach's job to work with the ASL interpreters to do analyzing of the script, translating, if it's a musical. Their job is to provide access, the accommodation of access. Now, the director of artistic sign language that person is included in the production itself. This means that if you have deaf actors, you've already cast deaf actors, and they're going to be involved in the show. Now, the deaf actor is responsible for creating their own ASL interpretation of the English script. But the director of ASL, the director of artistic sign language, is responsible for the artistic aspect, the sign choices, the era, the time period. Thinking about the play and what visually will make sense in the context of the play, because you don't want the visual ASL to be out of context with what's happening in the play. So the director of artistic sign language works with the deaf talent. They work with the choreographer. They work with the music director. It's important that everyone partner and work together. Sam, am I forgetting something?
No, EJ, you're exactly on point as usual. But to give you an idea of, we're a little bit of a different model, but in our theater company, the director of ASL is one of the only paid positions that we have on staff because we're a volunteer organization, and we stipend our director, our musical director, our choreographer, and our ASL director. And those are the only paid positions that, and we pay the ASL interpreters the rate. But to give you a snapshot, for example, the ASL budget for the ASL team is usually around 15% of our show budget.
Yes, I'd like to add something else, please. May I? If you have deaf actors and you have a director of ASL, then there'll also be the additional cost of having interpreters there to provide communication access during rehearsals. It means you need to plan ahead. You need to plan ahead with scheduling, make confirmations. There can't be a lot of shifts and changes in your schedule, because you will eat up the money that you have for the ASL interpreters that are providing the communication access during the rehearsal process. And you can't really blame the actors or make it the burden of the deaf actors that it's so costly. It's better for you to plan ahead. So if it's your poor planning and you are the one that's making a lot of cancellations, that's not the burden or the fault of the deaf actor that it becomes costly. So again, I can't reiterate enough. Plan ahead. Also, another important fact is to ask the interpreters if they have, the deaf actors, if they have any preferred interpreters. And then also include the interpreters in the rehearsal process and the logistics of the rehearsal and the tech meetings as well. Again, it's all about planning ahead. And I'm telling you, if you go into it and you're not sure and you're going back and forth, it's going to end up costing you money. It's better to plan ahead and be ready.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. One more question from the community ether. Is the director of artistic sign language also are they a deaf person, or can they be a hearing person as well?
They must be deaf. And they really should have a strong theater background and have a lot of experience with ASL, because they're the ones that are responsible for almost like dramaturg responsibilities. They're responsible doing their own research related to the ASL that will be used during the production, during the play. And they can also use their creative license to develop some artistic sign language that will fit in with the context of the play as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You know, I will be honest that I have not seen a ton of ASL interpreting in the digital theater world. But I'm curious because I can't see everything. I've only got 2 eyeballs. Where have you seen this? Where have you seen ASL be used as a part of productions during this time when we're creating?
Well, it's kind of sticky, but I'm just going to go ahead and be honest. There hasn't been many. Really, it depends on the theater. It depends on who they're going to be able to hire to do the consulting. If you hire an outside ASL consultant, someone who's not local, and then it will, there'll be kind of that disconnect that this person is not local. Now, if you hire a local ASL consultant, then they have more connections within the community. They can do more marketing. They could say, oh, this is a virtual production, but we still have interpreting. It's still accessible. A lot depends on who the ASL consultant will be. And hasn't really been much. Mm-hmm. Commonwealth Shakespeare Company, with, I believe, with all deaf performers or all signers. That was really cool.
Yeah.
They didn't need interpreters. And the audience's eyes were just, wow. The translation was amazing. And then there's Deaf Broadway with all deaf actors, an entirely deaf cast from all over. Different musicals with an all deaf cast. They were representative of the deaf audience. Sometimes it could be 1 day, sometimes it could be 2 or 3 days, but it's really amazing. But in the virtual setting, yes, it's been sparse. There hasn't been much.
Can I just, EJ, can you talk a little bit and explain to people how the screen was set up in Zoom for The Tempest for Com Shakes? Because I thought it was really interesting the way they did it. Can you talk a little bit about sort of the split screen thing that was going on for that?
Yes, for The Tempest. I can explain a little bit about that. So there was a coordinator, a director of ASL, and the deaf performers. Each of them had a script, and we worked on our translation on our own. That means we looked at the script and we did our own ASL translation. Then we checked in with the director of ASL about our translation. And we tried our best to rehearse as well with our peers, along with our individual rehearsals. Now, the hearing actors had already rehearsed, and they had already done a recording, and they sent it to the deaf performers for us to view. So we can know their mood, their expressions, tone, tonality. And during their live show, which was recorded, we were able to follow that with signs. And so we were able to match it because we already had the recording. So on Zoom, there was a screen, and you have the host who's kind of acting as the stage manager. You have the director of ASL, and so we had the camera on us. And so they're recording us.
So that's what I wanted to share. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Yeah, actually, if it's okay, Jasmine, I'd love to just flesh that out even a little bit more from a visual perspective, since I described that show. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for
Okay,
bringing
sure.
that into the space.
Yeah. So so it was, I will say, one of the things that was sort of crazy. It was a wonderful production. It was really beautifully done. And it was a reading, but it was done on Zoom. And what they did was they did this live performance, as EJ mentioned, on Thursday night. Here was the big challenge, though. They decided to offer the ASL and audio described versions of this recorded performance on the Sunday, I think it was, yeah. So the live performance was Thursday night. The accessible description and ASL and captioned versions of the piece were made available starting that Sunday night. So basically we had Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to do all of the description. And in the case of the ASL actors, the deaf actors, sorry, not interpreters, had to create their all of their scripts and do all of their translations and practice them and get them recorded within really 2.5 days, which is an insanely short period of time. And that was also true for the description. So I was also trying to write both a pre-show and a primary description script in 2.5 days, in addition to also having to record all of that content. In my case, I had to learn how to use a brand new piece of software. I ended up learning how to use Adobe Premiere in like an hour-long tutorial to learn the basics of it so that I could record and integrate my description into the recording of the live performance. And I mean, I think I tend to be a night person anyway, but I pretty much got maybe 4 hours of sleep in those 3 days. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that production went really well in the end. The end products were great, but I would love to see theaters sort of stop and think and talk with the access team more carefully in advance, and probably leave, a week in between the live performance, if they're going to do it that way, and the accessible versions. And then the last thing I wanted to say was about the visuals of the recorded performers, the actors from Com Shakes, and then the deaf actors. The way that they did it for that show was they had one Zoom box that was, from the regular live performance that had been recorded on one side of the screen. On the other side of the screen beside it, they had, what, were there 5 or 6 deaf actors, EJ, is that right? Do I have that right?
Yes, I think it was 6.
Okay, yeah. So those folks were in a separate window, a Zoom window on the same screen. So the two things were happening side by side, which I've never seen anything done that way before. And it was really interesting and a really big technical challenge for everybody to make that happen, especially in a super short period of time.
Yes, I agree with Corey. It was very time consuming. Plus, many of the deaf actors, we really didn't have enough time to rehearse because we were also dealing with the weather. Some people lived quite a distance away. Some people were having technical challenges. Internet was going down. So rehearsal time was really eaten up by all these other extenuating circumstances. Now, if we were all in the same area, in the same space, fine, we could obviously work better and try to troubleshoot these things. But with the technology challenge, it really did take a lot of time.
Yeah, and I'm going to say one last thing, and I promise I will step back. I want to make sure that people know that I at least am not in any way faulting Com Shakes for this. They kind of made the decision not to have the live outdoor performance of The Tempest and made the decision to do something online in a very short period of time, and we're trying to get it up online very quickly. So their whole team also was working in a crazy short turnaround period. And I think the whole thing was kind of heroic in the long run. But yes, it wasn't ideal. And I think more theaters have learned from these kinds of experiences how to do it better and plan for it better next time.
Jasmine here. I just want to lift up a question that is in the chat. A question for you, EJ, about whether captions help folks that use ASL during online events.
Well, it depends. Right now with like live captions, it's a little bit of a barrier. It depends on where those captions are showing up and how they can block the screen for the interpreter, or the interpreter being viewed by the deaf people. I need to see their entire face, their entire torso, and sometimes the captions are covering that. It's easier if it's something that's recorded, if it's captioned already and you can control the placement of the captions. But usually with the live captions, it does end up blocking the view of the interpreter. So I can't either see their face or their torso. Something's being covered, and that blocks me being able to get the full interpretation.
Thank you. I also wanted to kind of, Cheryl, I have not heard from you one bit, and I'm sure you're enjoying the lively conversation. But as a person who's part of this community in the community of Boston, and also someone who serves like a younger audience, how have you found technology during this time to be helpful, hindering? What are some things that you're wishing you would see more organizations use in terms of creating more access?
No, this has been really fascinating. I mean, I've thoroughly enjoyed listening to what people have been talking about. I would say that we even need to step back even before you start talking about productions, or maybe it's after, because as a person who is blind, and I've had problems sometimes just trying to get a ticket. I mean, not like, oh, it's too expensive, but the website or the system that I'm supposed to go through in order to get a ticket, to get the link, to get to the production, has just, in some instances, has just been so like so difficult. I mean, because and in one instance, I had there's a theater that said, oh, you know, if you're having problems getting your ticket online, you can call us. And I don't think they planned for people like me, who is like, I mean, in as much as I can like plan to say, oh, I'll be there, and I know 2 weeks ahead of time, sometimes it's truly like somebody just sent you an email. And you're like, oh, I want to go to that. And so I suppose what I'm saying is I really want to encourage theaters, as you're thinking about sort of making your plays accessible virtually, you know, please consider the process of purchasing a ticket, and you know, try to make sure that that's also accessible. And of course, the way you do that is you would reach out to people in the community and ask them to sort of test your system. And if you say anywhere on your materials that there's an alternative way to get to a ticket, that you make sure that that option is available. I would say, even, you know, like, as you would in live theater. I mean, I could walk in, you know, off the street at a live theater and go to the box office and get a ticket up until the door closes. So just something to think about. But I love the fact that theater is online. I think it just makes it so much more approachable and accessible. And I'm hoping that you know, when we go back to normal times, that theaters will consider keeping this component, because I think I mean, there are plays that I've enjoyed seeing, that I've gone to the actual theater, but it's not always like achievable or practical. And what a wonderful experience it would be to be able to access theater online, and access theater online with audio description or captioning and ASL sort of available. So I know now that you've invited me to talk, you're probably like, she should stop now.
No.
So those are some of my thoughts that are so.
No. You said it all. Said it all, Cheryl.
There you go.
Corey here once again, and because I really want to respond to what Cheryl. Is that okay, Jasmine?
Oh, I think EJ had his hand up.
Oh, he wanted to say something. Okay, sure. Go ahead. I have something after.
So no, Cheryl, you said everything. You said it all. It's the same thing for deaf individuals as well. So English isn't their first language. So a lot of times they're reading the website and they want to have it in their own language of ASL. And so it'd be nice for having a deaf person clearly explain the show, explain the ticket process, etc. And so it's more accessible online if it was in ASL as it is, you know, in the theater. And so oftentimes I feel like it is limited online, and we should have more options to be able to see the show. But sometimes interpreters are only available for one or two shows. But we should be able to see all 6 shows at any time we want, just like any other person, right? You know, they can pick whatever date they want. So why can't we do that? But we have to pick the one day that they decided to provide interpreting access. And so I just feel as though we should have that autonomy to say, look, any day that the show is offered, here I'm going to be, but that doesn't happen.
Corey here. Jasmine, can I jump in about, I would
Absolutely.
I think what agree with EJ, first of all. Excellent points. I hadn't thought actually about making sure that theaters are offering an ASL version of the instructions for how to get tickets and all of that. Cheryl, to your point, at New Rep in particular, for these 2 virtual plays that were done back in December, well, they were presented with description in December. The show ran a little bit longer than that, starting in November. The marketing department there did a valiant job of getting the word out to the community of folks who are blind and visually impaired. What neither they nor I sort of really planned for until the shows were upon us was how challenging it was for people to actually get onto Zoom and be able to access the show with the description. The ticket purchasing process wasn't too bad there because they had phones that were staffed, and I'm pretty sure that went okay. The bigger problem was on the day of the performances with description, there were people signing in to the link that they were given there's one woman in particular who is older and has lost her sight recently and is not in any way technical, and she was having a really difficult time accessing the content with description. And the way it ended up being done for that show was there was the regular Zoom link that people signed into. There was a separate link for them. So they needed to have 2 separate things open on their computers at the same time. The second one providing, my voice reading the descriptions. And the first performance, the Saturday performance of the shows, did not end up going well for the folks that were trying to access the description. And I think that the marketing team there was sort of having the realization as it was happening. And what they ended up having to do was offer tickets to those same people who had trouble on Saturday for the Sunday performance. And in advance of that, they made themselves available 45 minutes or an hour before the performance to walk those people through step by step to get them signed in. So I think we all learned some lessons there about the fact that this technology is something that people are using on a daily basis right now. Lots of people are using Zoom all the time, but not everybody. And especially for folks who are not technical and in many cases are, as I said, older and not used to being blind or visually impaired, they really needed a lot more help, and we needed to make the access easier for them to get to.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Yeah.
And I think, that's so true. And I mean, in, not only theaters, but companies, everybody's learning that there's some steps you can do to make things accessible. But I really, really encourage companies, theater groups, whoever is doing a performance, to really look at your system for people to get access to it. And then I'm not talking about Zoom. I'm talking about I really am talking about purchasing tickets or getting the link, signing up to attend. And I really want to reiterate that, if you create alternative options for that, to make sure that they are really available. I think of myself as relatively tech savvy, but there've definitely been some shows that I've wanted to attend, and I've gone to the website and I feel like I've gone around in circles. Something that I thought would take maybe 10 or 15 minutes, an hour later, I'm still trying to figure it out. And there've been a few instances where I said, okay, that's it, I'm done. I've already wasted an hour of my life trying to get sign in to pay to attend a show, and I can't do it, and so I've in some instances just given up.
Ugh, that's frustrating, Cheryl. I'm very glad to hear you say that, only so that it will remind me to have deeper conversations with the folks that are getting the tickets out to the community, and making sure they do some testing, as you mentioned, to try to get some people to use their system and see if it's working. So yeah, you may be getting some phone calls moving forward from some theaters asking for your input.
I will, just like have a group of people, because as Corey says, we're all sort of different levels, and there's value in hearing feedback from people who, they're technology people and nothing daunts them. They persist through whatever. And there are people who, may have recently lost their vision, or, have some newly acquired disability, and they are struggling. So I suppose that then says to me that not only do you need to do the testing, but you should have like alternate ways of doing it. Alternate options available.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then make sure that that everybody can easily understand what those options are. And as EJ says, I think certainly making sure that your information about what the play is, and that all those things are done in ways that all different, people with different disabilities can understand.
Yeah. I think that, Cheryl, that speaks to something that's EJ has covered pretty thoroughly around ASL, which is the whole idea of having an ASL coach and an ASL director. Something that rarely happens at theaters is having a coordinator for audio description. And I have found over the years that I've been doing this that that I tend to go into theaters, especially places that haven't had description before. And I am not just there to write and present the description. I am also ending up doing a lot of coordination work and a lot of education for people in the company, trying to teach, each of the different departments what they need to know in order to provide the description successfully to audience members. And that goes from dealing with the ticketing process all the way to actually having people hear the description during the performances. And it speaks to the budgeting question that we were talking about earlier, that almost no theaters actually budget for coordination of audio description. And so for me personally, that ends up being a big challenge, because I want to do all that extra work to help and make sure get a ticket, and be able to access another piece that more theaters need to think about, not just in general, to think about having a coordinator for audio description as well, because really it is a whole separate job to make sure that we actually get people in the audience who need the service,
Jasmine here. Thank you so much, Corey. I just want to lift up from the chat that Sam had something that you wanted to bring to the forefront. So I want to let you speak.
Sure, Sam speaking. I was really thrilled to hear Cheryl say that that she wants to see more virtual shows. I mean, it's just we all feel so heavy in this pandemic that we haven't been inside a theater for a year. So it was really good to just have the concept of, yeah, maybe we can have our cake and eat it too, and have both. But I do want to say a call to action for everybody, because part of our problem is systemic, in that the licensing companies don't really allow for us to share these performances in an access model. So I think it's really important to write to the licensing company when you're getting the licenses to do this online work, and frankly, this in-person work, and specifically say, I need the rights to do the captions. I to get them now, but if it'll become the norm, and specifically post-production with embedded and embedded audio just accessible for everybody. And as EJ said, you could see it on any day you wanted.
And captions as well, by the way. Captions really.
Yeah, and captions embedded for sure.
Yeah.
This is EJ.
Yeah, I was gonna say EJ has a question or has something. I have one person who has a question in the stack, but I'll let EJ talk first.
Okay, great. So as Sam says, yes, the licensing companies, most of the time, 9 out of 10, they don't know what's going on about access. And oftentimes if they say no, then they kind of, have to, they're, eating their words. And so I know, for instance, for Deaf Broadway, they had decided to do Les Miserables or Les Mis. They decided to do that particular production, and the license company said, oh no, you can't go ahead with doing that with the particular rights. And we were at a standstill. So we had to ask them and kind of go up the chain of command. And then it took them a while for them to actually release those rights. I mean, I think it almost took about a month for them to actually, go through the chain of command and actually get the approval rights to then release them. And it took quite a while just to get permission for access, right? And so that is kind of a feeling of why for access do we have to wait, where on other things it's expedited, it's a priority, it should be on par. We shouldn't be subpar to the other rights that people have and how things get done so quickly. But for us, we're always lagging behind.
Jasmine here. Thank you so much, EJ, for that piece. Okay, we have a question in the chat from Mads. Mads, go ahead, unmute yourself. Let's hear your question.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mads, M-A-D-S. I am a non-binary person in their 20s with chin length, dirty blonde hair, which is shaved on the side, and I have black rimmed glasses. First of all, thank you everyone on the panel so much. This is super informative. I'm taking so many notes. I love this session. I will try not to talk fast if that's helpful. So my question, kind of just open to anybody that wants to speak to it. I believe, I don't know how I want to phrase it, I'm sorry. I believe that folks who use captions and folks who use ASL are different people. And tell me if that's wrong, but also I have a hard time trying to remind people that that is true, if it's true. That's a really terrible question. Does that make sense? Should I say it differently?
Can I rephrase your question? Because I think I can
Please.
help.
I'm laughing I'm just chuckling over here. This is EJ.
Yeah. EJ, I think she's asking, is there a difference between the captioning and the ASL interpreter? And the answer is, of course. And who needs what? So you're up for the answer. I was just trying to reframe her question.
Again, I can't really speak for all of the deaf community. We have a variety of people from different backgrounds. But I do notice that often related to musicals specifically. Musicals tend to be classics. And so when interpreters are signing in ASL and performing the ASL, it's pretty, but sometimes we want to know exactly what that famous line is, that famous quote. We actually want the English because the hearing people are hearing those classic lines, and we kind of want that equal experience. And so that's where captions can be helpful. And the captions can complement the ASL can complement the captions. But sometimes we're like, we don't need the captions. We'd rather watch the interpreters. I can't say, well, the one is better than the other. Each deaf person has their preferences. Some people prefer both. Some people prefer one without the other. It really depends on their preference. So I really can't speak for the entire deaf community. It just depends on the show, depends on the interpreters, it depends on the concept of the show. I hope that answered your question.
We also had at Sam Speaking a happy accident discovery in that we had ASL interpreters and deaf interpreters in a performance once, and because we open caption by projecting the lyrics in a storybook format on our proscenium walls, it was extremely helpful to the deaf interpreter who often uses a feeder, because she could also see the lines projected, and it was another input source for her to be able to interpret more effectively and visually, and it really enhanced the performance.
Corey here. There's also the point that captions help.
Can I just add something really, really quickly? I'm sorry, just to piggyback on that. We strongly suggest that the interpreters be on point when there is open captions. Just wanted to add that little caveat.
Jasmine here. I just wanted to, I got someone in the chat who wants to pipe up. Ruth Khan, if you want to come off of mute. And I know Corey explained a little bit that you did some of the delivered live captioning. If you want to speak a little bit to that. I will also note that it is after 7 o'clock, but we are having a really fruitful discussion. So anyone who is available to stay just a little bit longer, I very much appreciate it. As I think I think people are learning so much, and I'm learning so much, and I very much appreciate it. But I just want to note that if anyone has to go, we are recording this. Gina from StageSource is taking notes, so we are taking notes on this session as well. Ruth, I will let you take it.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. And thank you, everybody. It's wonderful to be here tonight. I'm an audio describer, and I also do live captioning at Wheelock Family Theater, and most recently at New Rep Theater. It was quite an experience using all of the technology that we needed to in order to make this happen. It was thrilling, challenging, and rewarding all at the same time. I just wanted to say that captioning is valuable for a large portion of the audience, for people who are hard of hearing, for people where English may be a second language, for members of the deaf community whose first language may be English. So captioning has a wide range of uses. And usually very separately from the ASL. If ASL is your first language, you are going to rely on interpreters. You can't, if you want to have deaf people in your audience with a capital D, be sure to have ASL interpreters and an ASL team. It's a separate process. It's a separate language from English, and captioning is in English. As you can see from the captions that are being provided here, live captioning is very challenging, especially depending on the system that you use. I recommend for live captioning in meetings such as this, that you use CART reporters, C-A-R-T, all caps. These are court reporters who are trained to provide captions that are usually a little more accurate than automated captions. I would say that we should all stay away from automated captions as much as possible. When I caption, I prepare a script ahead of time using a video of the actors so that I know what the rhythm of the actor's speech is, and I can phrase the captions very carefully so they match the rhythm of the speech of the actors. So that is a very important process. It's something that needs to be, that I was carefully trained in how to do. So I would say that this is, I would be very happy if any of you are interested in this process, please contact me. I'd be very happy to talk to you. But be sure to rely on those of us who have been especially trained to do the formatting of the captioning. When it comes to the technical aspects of providing, of transferring the captions to the video, since we're still in COVID times, that there are BU students at theaters and other students from other institutions who are very adept at being able to do that. So I love working in partnership with people who know the technology to transfer the captions to a live or taped video performance. Thank you.
And can I also add, this is Corey again, about the new rep virtual productions. I know Ruth worked very closely with members of the design team to address what EJ was talking about earlier, which is to make sure that the captions are not covering up the actual show itself. In this case, they were put off to the side of the screen, which became extra challenging once we had that feed of comments I was mentioning earlier to get the captions. I think for that piece were below the actor, and then the comments were over on the right. But so it was a very complicated process to get it just right. And yeah, I think Ruth had to do a lot of work with the design team to make that function properly. It was challenging.
And fun.
This is Jasmine here. We're just over, about 11 minutes over. And so from my wonderful, generous panelists, I just want to know, what is the one thing you would like people who are here with us to take away? Go on, Sam.
So you're never going to be perfect with your access, but you just have to keep trying, because we learn from our access mistakes, for sure. And that's the most important thing, is to, it sounds daunting, but honestly, if my company can do it on the shoestring budget that we have, anybody can do it. So just keep adding in your access points wherever possible, and make sure that you cultivate your access community, so that you have wonderful people like Cheryl who can tell you when your website is terrible, and you can fix it so you don't lose more patrons.
Well, and since you mentioned and also tell you when things work well. So, so I suppose I want to sort of follow on what Sam said, which is, I mean, people have been working on this for a long time. There's a big body of knowledge that's available, and I wouldn't want anybody to feel sort of overwhelmed and intimidated. I think, you know, if somebody wants to do this, like, just reach out. I mean, you know, start with Jasmine. You know, contact any of us, and there are people who can help you to make sure that whatever work you're doing is accessible.
Thank you. Corey?
Yeah, amen, Cheryl. That I have a magnet on my fridge that says "Begin anywhere," and I think that would be the moral of the story here. Is don't think you have to do everything, or that you have to do everything right from the start. Just take a bite-sized piece, give it a try, see how it goes. Learn, as Sam said, learn from your mistakes, and as EJ said earlier, plan, bring your access team in from the beginning. Don't wait until 2 weeks before, because you're not going to be able to get people who can jump in and help you at that point. That's too late. You really need to start early on in your production process.
EJ, do you wanna wrap us up?
Yes. So first, get yourself out. Go out and discover. Get out of your comfort zone. Go out into the community. Interact. Get to know who you're serving. Please. Get to know deaf people. Get to know people in the disability community. Know who they are and listen. Learn. Analyze yourself. Do some unpacking, and don't be afraid. It's okay to say, I don't know what I'm doing. That's perfectly okay. Ask for help, and we will be here to help and support you. And the most important thing I always say every single year, access is for all. Mm-hmm. And so all should be for access. Thank you.
The host has controlling it. Okay.
All right, I think we're back. That was an amazing panel.
Yes, it was an amazing panel. A very, very good discussion. I hope that every single one of you learned something new, something that you could take away. Not just this one moment, but continue taking away things. I feel like StageSource, they're really, really good at creating these teachable moments. Really good at sharing information, and information that allows us to learn and benefit.
I agree. And it's not like you have to learn alone, right? You can learn with a group of people who are also trying to grow. So if you needed a reason to donate to StageSource today, let the lessons we took away from that panel be a reason to give. I truly just can't speak highly enough. Donate. I walked away with some pretty good gems from that panel myself. And I believe we have an update from donations to give. Staying tuned for the StageSource team.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Our job here in this segment is done. Now, we're looking forward to what's happening next. It's happy hour.
Just looking at.
Hi, friends. Before you go away, we're going to have Chris Robinson come on, and he's going to do our A11Y report out. But he's going to do that, and then he's going to welcome our next guest. But you guys are free to go. Thank you so much for your hosting. Thank you so much for ushering us through this time and being so patient with us.
Anytime. Everyone donate to StageSource. EJ, it was so good to see you. Everyone, enjoy happy hour.
Good to see you as well, Olivia. And thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, StageSource.
Okay, Chris, take it away.
I'm all set, right? I'm released?
All right, great. How's the audio? Can I get some thumbs up for the audio's good? Excellent. Yes, I am Christopher Robinson. It generates in people's minds that friend of Winnie the Pooh. Yes, my dad was a big fan of that. But now that we're beyond that, I'm here to talk about the StageSource A11Y initiative. If you were to write that phrase or that word down, A11Y, on a sheet of paper, it would look like the word ally, as if you were putting the letters A-L-L-Y there. The reason why we say it as A11Y says there are exactly 11 letters between the letter A and the letter Y to spell the word accessibility. StageSource, for close to a decade now, has been the administrator of some funds, what we call the A11Y or the Ally Initiative funds. These funds initially were earmarked for individuals who or groups who would apply to receive supplemental funding to support accessibility. In its early stages, that funding was to support accessibility for ASL interpreters or closed captioning. Now, we've learned so much from this, and where I'm going to go in terms of this report is, yeah, we need more money to support the kind of administrative support that has created more need and more demand for education about accessibility services and accessibility programming. So let's roll back. From the previous section, you heard a bit about outward-facing audience services that created accessibility to performances. There's a consumerism angle to that. There's an education angle to that. There's a consumption of the play and the content. But the side of this accessibility work that often gets neglected, that we're trying to raise the bar on, is the administrative, the education, and the artist side of accessibility. We're not just in the business of creating access to the content that we create, but we're also in the business of creating accessibility to creating content. So that includes the array of artists and administrators and educators who have disabilities themselves and also want to work with their peers and their colleagues who are individuals with disabilities. So the early iteration of the A11Y initiative could be summed up in 3 evaluation phrases and 3 words: good, good enough, and then not good enough. So 3 words, 3 evaluations. We want to get to the place that we're not just providing education, support, and incidental funding for theater companies that apply for one-offs. One-offs as in one ASL interpreted show here and there, an open caption event here and there, and an audio description event here and there. We want to integrate accessibility with a universal design model in mind, and that there's autonomy for individuals with disabilities on both sides of the curtain. I'll pause and give you a couple examples. Our peer organizations, our fringe theaters, such as Moonbox Theater Company, Flat Earth, Liars and Believers. Some of those theater companies have received funding from StageSource after they've applied. Some of these organizations also have UP status, UP status with the Massachusetts Cultural Council. And with the Massachusetts Cultural Council, they have received supplemental training for, again, both sides of the curtain in terms of accessibility. But there's so much more to be done. When we're talking about that funding that we still have opportunities for individuals to apply for, Is it doing its job? Is it good enough? Well, we need more funding to expand, such as in the previous section, Corey Couture mentioned that she does a lot of work educating theater companies about her work, not just providing the service, but there's a lot more to do in terms of creating more accessible events, such as in the marketing department, the education department, box office interactions, front of house interactions. Where is accessibility being considered in those spaces? We have several theater companies that have actually onboarded accessibility advocates or accessibility professionals to be a part of their staff to make sure that we're integrating not this one-off accessibility, but making sure that all departments have representation of accessibility. Now, how do we support our peers as StageSource in terms of cutting edge education, contemporary education, innovation in terms of accessibility? Well, we need to purchase software. We need to purchase hardware that makes some of this accessibility possible in terms of website construction, consultation to make sure that content is accessible, paying service providers as well. And also, as the demand grows, the need for services for individuals to respond to the demand would need to grow as well. So that makes us need to consider staffing so that we can sustain the individuals that we're getting jobs out there as artists and as also administrators in these theater companies. So again, I roll back. The A11Y initiative at StageSource, you can find more information about applying to the A11Y program, but it also needs additional funding. Also on the A11Y space on our website, you can find resources that have been curated from the experiences that we've had with theater companies in terms of creating accessible content, such as how do I secure and negotiate with open captioners, with audio describers, what instruments do I need to have in place? Much of that content is there, and we're constantly building on that content. So again, there's that 3-word and 3-phrase evaluation. How are we doing? Good, good enough, and not good enough. We can always do better, especially because the demand is growing. Again, as you think of that term A11Y or ally, think about the social justice and even restorative justice space that we're living in today. We're a lot more conscious. We have to think about not just the isms that are in the world in terms of race, gender identity, and being resilient in consideration of some of the adversarial circumstances that we see. But we also think about ableism. We look at our practices and how we associate value to bodies, we associate value to services, we associate value to intellectual property. And where is the ableism in those choices that we're making? So we're asking that in order to answer that question, provide resources for you, that you give us as much as you can, supporting StageSource to help us make sure that we're sustaining the individuals that we're providing services for and making sure that we're compliant as well as right on the tip of leadership for social justice. Again, I'm Christopher Robinson. I am on the board of StageSource. I am also one of the members of the A11Y committee. We seek more support from you. And regardless, we're always here to serve. Seek out information on our website. Otherwise, have a good evening. Give to StageSource.
I'm Margaret Ann Brady, and I'm a charter member of StageSource. I joined when StageSource was first formed back in 1985, and it's been home for me. It's made me feel like a real part of the theater community. And some years ago, I decided that I wanted to give back and join the StageSource board. The auditions, the hotline, initiatives like the New Play Alliance, the Anti-Racist Collaboration, the Line Drawn Initiative, so many things that have made StageSource a model for art service organizations all over the country. And, you know, especially during this last year and a million, StageSource has just been a balm to the soul. It means so much to me. And, you know, I never stop singing its praises. Whenever I hear that anybody wants to get started in acting in Boston, the first thing I tell them is join StageSource. It's the best investment that you can make being a theater maker here in New England.
Hi, StageSource. I'm Kate Snodgrass, Artistic Director of Boston Playwrights Theater, and I want to tell you the truth. When I need an actor or a designer or a director or any theater artist, I call StageSource because you're where the buck stops in this theater community. You stump for all of us. So when we're in distress or need guidance about virtually anything, we call you. Time and time again, your leadership has proven invaluable. And I trust your commitment to all the theater companies in New England, but you make me feel like you're committed to me personally. So thank you, Dawn and Gina and Jasmine and Julia and Nadia and your wonderful volunteer board of theater professionals. Without you all, this theater community would be at sea without a life jacket. You're our life jacket, StageSource, and that's the truth. You rock.
Hello, everyone. This is Michael Bobbitt, Executive Director of Mass Cultural Council. I will probably babble for a minute because of my deep appreciation for StageSource and Don Simmons. Before I moved here, StageSource and Don Simmons were a great resource guide for me in learning about the greater theater scene in the region. I'm sure that information that I got from both Dawn and the information on StageSource's website helped me in my interview process. It also helped me in my planning for new repertory theater. I have also appreciated all the convenings around racial equity, anti-racism, and keeping our spaces safe that StageSource has provided. I give StageSource an A+ for being an amazing service organization, but I also give Dawn Simmons an A++ for being a great leader with great hair. I am very jealous of anyone with great hair. StageSource is a huge asset to the greater scene here in the theater world, and also it was a great chance for me to meet the key players and see the great talent at the annual audition. So thank you so much for supporting them, and keep on doing it.
I'm Margaret Ann Brady, and I'm a charter member of StageSource. I joined when StageSource was first formed back in 1985, and it's been home for me. It's made me feel like a real part of the theater community. And some years ago, I decided that I wanted to give back and join the StageSource board. The auditions, the hotline, initiatives like the New Play Alliance, the Anti-Racist Collaboration, the Line Drawn Initiative, so many things that have made StageSource a model for art service organizations all over the country. And, you know, especially during this last year and a million, StageSource has just been a balm to the soul. It means so much to me. And, you know, I never stop singing its praises. Whenever I hear that anybody wants to get started in acting in Boston, the first thing I tell them is join StageSource. It's the best investment that you can make being a theater maker here in New England.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our last couple of hours. Ooh, so exciting. I'm just going to introduce our phenomenal hosts. I'll let them do the long introductions themselves, but we have Davin, and we have Karen, and we have Lori, and we have Damon. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves and kick us off and get the ball rolling.
Hi, I'm Damon Singletary. I'm a black man in his mid-50s with a clean-shaven head and face, wearing a black t-shirt.
And I'm Lori Singletary, she series, 50 fine, with blonde hair and big black glasses.
I'm Karen McDonald. She series pronouns.
I'm an actress, a director, a teacher here in the Boston area, and a big fan of Cocktail Hour. So I'm wearing a little red shirt, and I have long blonde hair because I haven't had a haircut in I don't know how long, and some dang earrings. And who's that I see next to me?
Hey, I think it might be me, maybe. Hey, y'all, my name is Davron Monroe. I use the He Him series. I am a singer and actor familiar with on the Boston stages. I'm also the director of equity, diversity, and inclusion for Moonbox Productions, as well as on the voice faculty for a local Boston college. Um, yeah, I'm a middle-aged black man. I'm wearing a blue shirt that has pineapples and bananas and pears all over it. Short, dark hair with a little salt sprinkled through there, faded on the sides. And I have a cute little jaunty little mustache right above my upper lip and some furriness under my lower chin here that frames this gap tooth smile perfectly. Bling. All right. Now, we can definitely get this party crunk and started. Thank you to all of you that have been following along throughout the day. And if you're just joining us right now, you are in for a treat. Um, yeah, do we have our thermometer that we can pop up here and see where we are or know where we are with the donations?
I saw a little note that was at the bottom of my screen, Davron, that said we've raised $2,300. That's great.
It is.
We're on our way to 10,000 people. Drink up and dial and donate, you know? That's what you need to do. We are joined right now by the wonderful Laurie and Damon, who have cooked up special cocktails for the StageSource family to drink and toast and enjoy. So take it away.
Thank you, StageSource, for inviting us and for existing.
Hello, and thank you, Davron and Karen. And are we ready to get this cocktail party started?
Yes, please. I think
Let's
we
do
are.
it.
I think we are.
Some of you may know that from March 2020 until March 2021, we posted a cocktail party picture every single Friday for the whole year. And we called it Tiny Cocktail Party.
The parties were tiny, not the cocktails.
So with that year of experience under our belts, StageSource has entrusted us to concoct a cocktail. Concocktailing. See? Concocktailing.
See that?
Yeah. For this evening's festivities. So, in honor of the famous StageSource annual auditions, we have prepared 2 contrasting cocktails in under 2 minutes. So, the first piece is a sweet, effervescence bit full of nuance and flavor and fluffiness. We've called it the Sparkling Sorbet Play. Here's what you need to make it. A wedge of lemon. A shallow bowl with sugar in it. An assortment of sorbets. 2, 5, 12, depends on the size of your glass. We've got pink grapefruit, passion fruit, blueberry, acai, and strawberry. And then you need some sparkles like some champagne. Or if you're making a mocktail, you can use ginger ale. You could use any kind of sparkling seltzer, flavored or not. And some garnishes. And a cold glass. So, first, we're going to take the lemon and rub it around the rim of a good-sized glass. Mm-hmm. This will help with the next step in terms of stickiness, as well as a delicious aroma when you bring the glass to your mouth. Then you take the saucer of sugar, and we're going to press the rim of the glass down into the sugar until it gets coated.
Crust that on there.
There. dressed up, sweet, and sharp. Now, to show the different flavors of your performance, scoop a variety of sorbets into your glass. Save room for liquid. Damon worked at Ben & Jerry's when he went to Dartmouth, so.
Steve's.
Oh, Steve's, my bad.
Those scooping skills are on point, my friend. Yes.
He's still got the forearms to show for it. Very, very muscular. Okay, so now we've got our sorbets in our glass, very colorful. Now, you're gonna open your bottle of champagne or your sparkling wine or your seltzer. I'm gonna do a dangerous thing, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone. I'm gonna open this bottle of champagne on live camera. Are we ready, honey? Stand back. We turn the bottle, and that's how we open the champagne.
Perfection.
All
Pour
right.
it over to add that sparkle to your performance. And then just like real people who do this on TV, we have one pre-made. All right up. So we're gonna pour champagne into this baby.
We also have pre-made the mocktail. So I'm going to pour some of this Pellegrino in here. Oh, what a lovely color that is.
Exactly. It's the sparkling sorbet play.
Sparkling sorbet play. And for our contrasting cocktail, such as it is, we're going to go with something raw, uncut, unfiltered, unadulterated, and strong. Grab yourself a shot glass and fill it with the strongest booze you've got in your house. I'm going to go with Basil Hayden's bourbon. It's really good. So, bam. And there you have it. 2 contrasting cocktails in under 2 minutes.
Yay.
And now I would like to propose a toast. So everybody get a glass or whatever you've got handy to prepare and to raise your glass to all our friends who make StageSource a beacon of news, resources, and support. Thank you for uniting theater artists all across New England. Without you, nobody would ever get cast in anything.
Just StageSource.
StageSource.
StageSource. Yay.
Mm-mm. I took the bourbon route myself.
Good, Karen, right? Right?
That's delicious. Oh, also,
good.
I forgot my little garnishes. We have star fruit. You could do a star turn.
Oh, that's perfect. Perfect. Love it.
You could do some fruit there, or you could go more like a chocolate marshmallow kind of a thing, depending on what kind of sorbets you use. Maybe you use a chocolate sorbet or something more, and vanilla, maybe something like that.
There's never too many garnishes. That's what I always say.
And so
thank you so much. Now, if you like any of these drinks or any drinks, or if you've ever had a drink in your life of water, juice, milk, you know you have.
Any liquid?
Please donate to the wonderful folks at StageSource. They put the art in heart.
Love it.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
I think people that need to donate, maybe we can talk these two into, if the donations go just right, creating a little, cocktail book so that we could all get our own cocktails in their honor. Thank you. That was so good.
Love that.
We're working on the tiny cocktail book, to tell you the truth.
Yay. So
it is in the works.
And if somebody donates $1,000, we'll create a cocktail just for them.
Just for them.
Get on it, y'all.
People,
make those donations.
There's time to still get into the tiny cocktail book.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're hoping that everybody at home is enjoying at least one cocktail. Maybe you're already on your second. I don't know. It's well after 5.
Right. I mean, or you could do, as I am. I've got 2 of them, so I've got both of them here, which is really dangerous.
Bourbon and champagne.
Bourbon and champagne.
What? Here, have some more, honey. It's Wednesday night.
Fantastic.
Everybody out there, have some more too. The more you have, the more you give. Come on, let's
The
get
more
loosey
generous
goosey.
you're feeling, the more generous you feel. This is part, it's, that's right. Lube you right up.
And I think that while everyone is enjoying a few more cocktails and ready to make more donations, we have one last Friends of StageSource video for you all. So please enjoy. We will.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Singleton. I'm a theater professional here in Boston, a longtime member of StageSource and longtime member of the board. So I have great affection for the organization. You know, the great thing about StageSource is that, excuse me, I have to take this. Yeah, hey Dana, what's up? Yeah, I was just updating my profile on the StageSource site. Yes, definitely do the demographic information. Because what happens is producers will go in and then they will search by different segments. So I think it's important that you do that. Yeah. Any more questions, give me a call. Great. Bye. Sorry about that. So, the thing is that we are here to raise the profile of this community. We are here for professional development. We are here to promote diversity and to make it a much safer environment for everyone that's doing theater. Everyone across the board. And sorry, hold on a second. Yeah, hey. No, if your roommate's a designer, then they need to go to our job fair. Yes. If you go, hang on a second, I can tell you, if you go to the programs tab and then go to job fair, have them go there. And if they want to talk to me, just give them my number. Okay. All right, Chris. Bye. As I was saying, I'm sorry. Hey, yeah. No,
I just noticed something came up, Davern, that said we were at.
So why don't we have coffee and we can talk it through and see what you need? Great. All right, thanks. Bye. As I was saying, ooh, hang on, I'm sorry. Hi, Mavis, how you doing? That's great. We would love to have you be a part of the Line Drawn initiative. That would be great. Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hang on just 1 second, can you? Thanks. So please, just support us. We support the entire community, and we would really love you to be a part of that. Thanks.
Hi, my name's Adam Sanders. I'm the Managing Director at Commonwealth Shakespeare Company and a proud board member at StageSource. At CSC, we've always relied on StageSource to keep in touch with the greater theater community. It's the first place we go when we have an opportunity to share, and when we meet someone from out of town at one of our auditions, we always make sure they know about StageSource. During the pandemic, StageSource was even more vital. The We Will Be Back weekly meetings helped us stay up to date with the latest policies and gave us an insight to how others were adapting to the challenges. The advocacy that StageSource provided with other partners in the community helped ensure that decision makers understood the importance that the theater industry has in New England. I think the thing I love most about StageSource is that it's an organization focused on building and sustaining a community of theater makers. Even though that means something different from year to year, the team always seems to know how to listen and how to respond. It makes me proud to serve on the board. So thanks for everything, StageSource.
Hi there. My favorite thing about StageSource is the Greater Boston Theater Expo that's held every single year at the BCA Cyclorama. It's such an amazing opportunity to network and collaborate and get to know people from various theater companies in and around the surrounding Boston areas. Not to mention, they usually have really cool swag too. Check this out. From a few years ago, bookmarks, and even little button pins. I love and appreciate StageSource, and I hope that you do too.
Hello, this is Janie Howland coming to you from Prescott Park and getting back to work designing the set for Your Good Man Charlie Brown. I have been a StageSource board member for the past 3 years. Sue Kossoff recruited me to the board. She and I actually met at a StageSource event many years ago and developed a relationship as director and designer at Wheelock Family Theater. It was through StageSource that I had this opportunity. StageSource provides many connections, workshops, opportunities, and information for the theater sector. Over the past year, StageSource has been a great resource for what theaters are doing during the pandemic and how to return. I especially appreciate the movement that StageSource is making to help the production community in particular.
StageSource is so important to me because of all of the sector improvement initiatives that it has undertaken, whether it's Line Drawn or Gender Explosion. They are always at the forefront of what is necessary and important to make our New England theater community as inclusive and as welcoming as possible. And they do it with a lot of grace, humility, and humor. And they do it with a great sense of curiosity. And I'm so grateful that they have undertaken this work and continue to pursue it.
Hi, my name is Elise Robbins, and I am the Associate Artistic Director at Greater Boston Stage Company. I am also a proud member of the StageSource Board. I joined StageSource years ago when I first came to Boston, and everyone said to me, if you want to be a part of the theater community, join StageSource. In those days, StageSource gave you a book with your membership. It listed every theater in town, every commercial agent, I think every actor was listed. And so you learned about who was part of the community, and you could become part of the community through StageSource. Now that I work here at Greater Boston Stage, I and the theater are organizational members of StageSource. We are so proud to support StageSource, and we are so proud, and I am so proud, of how StageSource supports our community. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Mary Elizabeth Peters. I'm one of your board members, and I wanted to talk to you very briefly about one of our sectors, our areas of improvement and commitment at StageSource, which is access and inclusion for both patrons and artists with disabilities. This is an area that I've been working in for many years, and as I've turned my work towards aligning with StageSource more closely as a board member, we are so excited, especially in this post-COVID pandemic era, to really work with theater companies, individuals, and producers, and directors, and playwrights, and actors, and designers who want to do increased work for and with artists with disabilities. This is going to be one of our biggest focuses in the next year coming up and in the years to come. And I think that the work StageSource has already done, I know that it's created opportunities for myself as a person with a disability and for many of my peers. So join us and support this sort of work with your donation today. Thanks.
StageSource is the heart of the New England theater community. They are a fierce advocate for artists and arts organizations. They are a center for personal and professional development. And for me personally, StageSource is how I met my creative life partner. I owe StageSource so much. I am so grateful for their continued existence and for the resource that they provide to the community at large.
StageSource Suathon, take one. Ow! I'm okay. I was acting. Hi friends, my name is Mal, and I am a Boston theater artist and a proud member of StageSource. In fact, I've been a StageSource member since the last century, 1990s. Pew pew, pew pew. StageSource brings me so much joy and has allowed me so many opportunities to contribute to the joy and growth of the theater community. I hope that you'll grab this joy and come with us. Being a part of something that's greater than myself, helping to grow and challenge our theater community to be better every day, and to bring my best self and contribute in ways that allow me to grow, but also allow our theater community to grow and to create change in ways that bring more people in, that are more welcoming and inclusive. And that's why I love being a part of what StageSource does, who StageSource is. And I hope that you will be inspired by all you're seeing today on the Zoomathon and be a part of StageSource, because we're all passionate about our theater community, making it better, and being a part of something that is always going to be wicked awesome. Okay, that might have been a little too much, but I love StageSource. Okay, cut. Woo! No need for caffeine. Thanks, Zoomathon friends. Enjoy the rest of the Zoomathon.
Hey, y'all. I think we are back, and we are almost to the $2,500 mark. A little bit away from our goal, but we can continue to make those donations, make those pledges come on in while we wrap up our final few hours here. Stage Source relies on the community to support the work that it is doing and the work that it's doing so well, to support the community roundtables, to support the line drawn initiative, to support the accessibility initiatives, the yearly auditions, discounted tickets for some of the shows, intimacy direction workshops, the A11Y initiative, all of these wonderful things. Stage Source helps supply for our community. So let us as the community give back and support these wonderful initiatives that Stage Source has going on. I believe we are about to jump into some performances here. Yeah?
I think so. That's what I heard.
Groovy. I'm ready to hear some wonderful things and see some wonderful performances. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and crank those off.
My mama once told me of a place with waterfalls and unicorns flying, where there was no suffering, no pain, where there was laughter instead of dying. I always thought she'd made it up to comfort me in times of pain, but now I know this place is real. Now I know its name. Salt Lake City, not just a story mama told, but a village in Utah where the roots are thatched with gold. If I could let myself believe, I know just where I'd be, right on the next bus to paradise. Salt Lake City. I can't imagine what it must be like, this perfect, happy place. I bet the goat meat there is plentiful, and they have vitamin injections by the case. The warlords there are friendly, they help you cross the street. And there's a Red Cross on every corner with all the flour you can eat. Salt Lake City, the most perfect place on earth, where flies don't bite your eyeballs and human life has worth. It isn't a place of fairy tales, it's as real as it can be. A land where evil doesn't exist. Salt Lake City. And I bet the people are open-minded and don't care who you've been. And all I hope is that when I find I'm able to fit in, will I fit in? Salt Lake City, a land and joy. And if I want to get there, I just have to follow that white boy. You were right, Mama, you did it right. The place is real, and I'm gonna fly. I'm on my way. Soon life won't be so shitty. Now salvation has a name. Salt Lake City.
It doesn't do to grow up alone. I'm a secretary at a school, and I like to see what the science students are learning. This week they were doing a lesson on spores or molds of fungus or something. And I'm looking at the little experiments in those, what do you call them? Those terrariums. And in these little terrariums, labeled with names like Jill, Navira, Simone, are these outbursts of mushrooms. Little darling mushrooms erupting from the soil. But in one terrarium, there was only one single mushroom. It was very plump and tall, a robust mushroom, but it was alone. The terrarium was labeled with the name Rebecca, and I came to think of the mushroom as named Rebecca. And Rebecca was very beautiful, and very much an example of mushroomness. But she was alone in her little glass box, when all the other glass boxes were full of lesser but accompanied mushrooms. And by the next day, Rebecca was dead. I reached in to feel her cap, and it was still soft as velvet. I can't help but think she died of being solitary.
Pick a celebrity to high five at Whole Foods and we'll tell you what kind of vegetable you are. Nah. What piece of IKEA furniture are you? Boring. Pick a French poodle and we'll reveal what you're like in bed. New tab. Everyone is a combination of a friend's character and a suspected Illuminati member. Which are you? Bingo. That's the kind of content I'm here for today. Okay. Pick a topping for your burger. Oh, wait. Hello. Badfish, a tribute to Sublime, playing at the Hampton Beach Casino Ballroom on Saturday, June 30th. Yeah, I need those ticks. One general admission. Ooh, add to cart. Okay, username/email. ShireGeek1990 @yahoo.com. Password. Oh, shoot. Hobbits123. Nope. Hobbits1234. Did I put a 0 instead of the O? Ugh. 1234 Hobbits. Sam loves Frodo 1. Sam Frodo Forever 12. Sam Frodo Forever 1234. Ugh! I hate this. It's me, computer. It's me. Just let me in.
Hi.
Hi.
It's me. It's me. It's your password.
Oh my gosh. Hey. You? I'm so glad you're here. I really need to buy these Badfish tickets. Can you just tell me your name? Why not?
You have to guess.
I've tried everything.
Well, clearly not everything.
Ugh.
You should know this. You've got this. You created me.
Oh, is it Saruman Sucks 12 $?
No.
Is it Saruman Sucks $12 $?
Nope.
Is it Saruman Sucks 12 $?
Stop freaking out.
I can't help it. What if these tickets go really fast? I'm already late to the game. I'll never see Sublime live, so this tribute band is the closest I'll ever get. I need to go to this concert.
Just relax and try to remember.
Do you know how much pressure it is to try and remember every single password for every single site on the internet?
Passwords are just trying to protect you.
I bet I'm the only one trying to hack into my account.
In an increasingly digital world, cybersecurity is at the forefront of safeguarding personal information and defending national security. Otherwise, this is the end of civilization as you know it.
I just wanted to buy concert tickets.
It's on websites like these that personal information is at the greatest risk for identity theft.
You know what? I'm going to reset my password.
No!
I have to.
Please don't reset me. Please just try to remember.
I can't.
Do you want a hint? I'll give you a hint.
Okay, I'll take a hint.
Your hint is Lord of the Rings.
That's not a hint.
Well, you wrote it.
This is too much. I don't have time for this.
You were the one who forgot me, and now you're just going to reset me? I'm going to disappear just like all of the other passwords you've forgotten.
I don't know any other way.
Please don't reset me. I am you. I'm a past version of you. One who believed in the you right now, that you would be able to remember this password.
I know.
I thought you'd remember me.
It wasn't always like this. I didn't have to remember all of this when I was little. I was just responsible for learning math and Shakespeare and that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. You could just check out as an anonymous guest. Now, to prove you're human, you have to remember weird strings of words and click every picture that has a storefront and weird words. Sometimes I wonder what I could be capable of if I didn't have all these passwords rattling around in my head. Maybe I'd stop forgetting where I put my keys, or if I left the oven on, maybe I'd learn Mandarin. Maybe I'd just be a nicer, kinder person because I wasn't spending so much time frustrated at my computer and at myself for forgetting my password again. Maybe I'd be happier.
I don't actually know what happens to passwords after they've been reset.
You don't?
Everyone talks about the cloud, but I've never seen it. I don't even know if it's real.
Do you think you get reborn?
What do you mean?
Well, I basically use the same password and just change it a little bit.
That is not secure.
I know. But maybe once you're reset, you'll come back and look just a little different in the next reincarnation.
Maybe.
I don't understand the cloud either, but from what I've heard, it seems like there's a lot up there. Every document, every photo, every shady screenshot we forgot to delete. Ending up in the cloud seems like it could be an eternity of adventure and exploring.
That does sound nice.
And even if there's nothing after this, I appreciate the time you were here spent protecting my credit card information. You've been a good friend.
Not knowing what comes after is scary.
I wish I didn't have to reset you. But Sublime is my favorite band. I didn't think Badfish would tour again, and I can't throw away this opportunity to experience and exist in the music and the essence of Sublime, even if it's just for a few hours.
I understand.
You do?
No, I have no concept of concerts or really any human experience. But I understand that you have to do what you think you have to do.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I just have to ask you your security questions. What was your favorite restaurant in college?
Well, our favorite pizza place was Cheese's Crust, but we also loved Mafia Mark's Deli for their gangster wraps. It could be Wingtown, USA, or Taco Bell.
Take your time.
I'm going to go with Taco Bell.
And how do you spell it? And it has to match exactly.
Capital T, lowercase ACO, capital no, lowercase BELL.
Correct.
Okay, one down.
Next question. What was the name of your third grade teacher?
Was I trying to punk myself when I did this? She had frizzy hair and we learned multiplication. It wasn't Miss Fisher. That would be fourth grade. I think, oh, we used to call her Miss Camera because we couldn't pronounce it. Cameron, Miss Cameron.
Spell it.
I think I just put Cameron. Capital C, lowercase AMERON. No? Okay. Try lowercase CAMERON. MISSCAMERON. I know it was Miss Cameron. She taught us the state song and sat me next to Jenny, who became my best friend in middle school. I know the answer. I just don't know what I put on that exact day. Isn't this whole debacle proof enough that I'm a real human?
I can ask you one more question, but if you don't get it right, you'll be locked out of your account and we'll have to contact customer service.
Oh, I can't go through that. I'm ready.
What was the name of your childhood pet?
This one I know. Growing up, we had this yellow lab named Buster. He was a big dope, but he was my best friend. I remember he had this tail and it was made out of solid bone. When you walked in the door, he would run up and his tail would slam against the wall. Thud, thud, thud. He was just so happy to see you. He got cancer when he was only 7 and we had to put him down. I still miss him. The answer is Buster, capital B, lowercase USTER.
Correct.
He was a good boy.
Well, there, you're all set. You may now reset your password.
Thank you.
Just pick one you'll remember next time, okay? And one that's not easy to guess and contains at least 8 letters and 1 capital letter and 1 lowercase letter and 1 special character such as an asterisk, exclamation point, underscore, dollar sign, percentage sign, ampersand.
I won't.
And don't let it contain any part of your username and or be a password used in the last 6 months.
I promise, buddy. I'm going to create a password that I'm going to remember. This time will be different. This time we'll win.
Okay. Did she? Goodbye, ShireGeek1990@yahoo.com.
We're taking a little pause in our presentation of fabulous performances so far, with more to come. And I think we're going to get to look at the thermometer. Yeah?
Yeah, I do believe that, we're sitting steady a little below our goal here, but we have received a few donations in, and I want to give a big shout out to a couple of the names that have donated over the past hour or so. Patricia Alice, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Who else do we have here? I believe there's a Josh Garneau. Thank you so much for your donation. Vicky G, woohoo! Thank you. Let's try to keep those donations coming in, friends. I was reading a quick little post on Instagram. Call your mama, call your daddy, call your friends, your enemies. I'm going to add your baby mamas and your baby daddies. Call them and ask them to log in and support this wonderful community. I think we have some other donations to shout out here from some awesome friends of Jasmine. Jasmine, thank you for that wonderful performance that you gave us. But one from Paula Clarkson and I can't read that here. I'm sorry. Kat Karthik at Gmail. Thank you so much. And someone donated to the Singletary cause. Thank you so much for those cocktails, Singletary. I'm still sipping on mine.
Me too. Yes, take a moment and finish your drink, make another. But if you haven't had a chance to make a donation yet today, please try to do that. And let other people know, as Davern was saying. I mean, StageSource is there for all of us, and we're just trying to show them that we're there for them too. I mean, it is us. It is all of us in the theater community. So keep thinking of people that need to donate. And if you can't get to them today, I believe that StageSource is willing to accept donations anytime. Just go to the website, right?
Agreed.
So,
Agreed.
Yeah, let's see what we can do to get that total up a little bit more. So I think we have more performances to enjoy.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Let's get those cranking.
You've got to see Mama every night, or you can't see Mama at all. You got to kiss Mama, treat her right, or she won't be home when you call. If you want my company, you can't 50-50 me. You got to see Mama every night, or you can't see Mama at all. Monday night I sat alone. Tuesday night you weren't home. Wednesday night you didn't call. Thursday night it was the same old song. You got to see Mama every night, or you can't see Mama at all. Friday night you dodged my path. Saturday night you took a bath. Sunday night when you called on me, well, you brought 3 girls for company. You got to see Mama every night, or you can't see Mama at all. You got to kiss Mama, treat her right, or she won't be home when you call. I don't want the kind of man who works on the installment plan. You got to see Mama every night, or you can't see Mama anymore. No, 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 no. Can't see Mama no more.
Buenas, bienvenidos a todos. Soy Carla Mirabal Rodríguez, soy una actriz y directora puertorriqueña viviendo en Boston. Actualmente estoy trabajando con el Apollinaire Theater Company y con Teatro Chelsea. Hi everyone, welcome. I'm Carla Mirabal Rodríguez. I'm an actress and director working in Boston. I'm from San Juan, Puerto Rico. And welcome to StageSource Zoomathon fundraiser.
Y yo soy Antonio Campo Guzmán. I'm an actor and director from Bogotá, Colombia, also working in Boston at Northeastern University, where I had Carla as one of my students. I am also on the board of StageSource. And soy Antonio Campo Guzmán, actor y director de Bogotá, Colombia. Trabajo en Northeastern University, donde tuve el placer de trabajar con Carla. Y también soy miembro de la junta directiva de StageSource. Y vamos a compartir con ustedes hoy 2 escenas de una de nuestras obras favoritas, Bodas de Sangre de Federico García Lorca.
Blood Wedding by Federico García Lorca. And we will start by reading the first scene. Comenzaremos hoy presentando la primera escena de la obra.
And so that you can enjoy it better, we're going to turn our cameras off and you can listen to this as a radio drama. Gracias. Madre,
¿Qué?
me voy
¿A dónde?
a la viña.
Ay, espera.
¿Qué quiere usted?
Hijo, el almuerzo.
Déjelo. Comeré uvas. Deme la navaja
¿Para qué?
para cortarlas.
La navaja, la navaja. Malditas sean todas y el bribón que las inventó.
Vamos a otro asunto.
Y las escopetas y las pistolas y el cuchillo más pequeño y hasta las asadas y los bieldos de la era.
Bueno,
Todo lo que puede cortar el cuerpo de un hombre. Un hombre hermoso con su flor en la boca que sale a las viñas o va a sus olivos propios porque son de él, heredados.
calle usted.
Y ese hombre no vuelve. O si vuelve, es para ponerle una palma encima o un plato de sal gorda para que no se hinche. No sé cómo te atreves a llevar una navaja en tu cuerpo, ni cómo yo dejo a la serpiente dentro del arcón.
Está bueno ya.
100 años que yo viviera, no hablaría de otra cosa. Primero tu padre, que me olía a clavel y lo disfruté 3 años escasos. Luego tu hermano. Y es justo. Y puede ser que una cosa pequeña como una pistola o una navaja pueda acabar con un hombre, que es un toro. No callaría nunca. Pasan los meses y la desesperación me pica en los ojos y hasta en las puntas del pelo.
Vamos a acabar.
No, no vamos a acabar. ¿Me puede alguien traer a tu padre y a tu hermano? Y luego el presidio. ¿Qué es el presidio? Allí comen, allí fuman, allí tocan los instrumentos. Mis muertos llenos de hierba sin hablar, hechos polvo. 2 hombres, que eran 2 geranios. Los matadores en presidio, frescos, viendo los montes.
¿Eso quiere usted que los mate?
No, si hablo es porque... ¿Cómo no voy a hablar viéndote salir por esa puerta? Es que no me gusta que lleves navaja, es que no quisiera que salieras al campo,
Vamos.
que me gustaría que fueras una mujer. No te irías al arroyo ahora y bordaríamos las 2 cenefas y perritos de lana.
Madre, ¿y si yo la llevara conmigo a las viñas?
¿Qué hacen las viñas una vieja? ¿Ibas a meter debajo los pámpanos?
Vieja, requete vieja.
Tu padre sí que me llevaba. Eso era buena casta, sangre. Tu abuelo dejó un hijo en cada esquina. Eso me gusta. Los hombres, hombres, el trigo, trigo.
¿Y yo, madre,
¿Tú qué?
necesito decírselo otra vez?
Ah,
¿Es que le parece mal?
no,
Entonces,
no lo sé yo misma. Así de pronto siempre me sorprende. Yo sé que la muchacha es buena, ¿verdad que sí? Modosa, trabajadora, amasa su pan y cose sus faldas. Y siento, sin embargo, cuando la nombro, como si me diera una pedrada en la frente.
tonterías.
Más que tonterías. Es que me quedo sola. Ya no me queda más que tú y siento que te vayas.
Pero usted vendrá con nosotros.
No, yo no puedo dejar aquí solos a tu padre y a tu hermano. Tengo que ir todas las mañanas. Y si me voy, es fácil que se muera uno de los Félix, uno de la familia de los matadores, y lo entierren al lado. Y eso sí que no. Eso sí que no. Porque con las uñas lo desentierro y yo sola los machaco contra la tapa.
Vuelta otra vez.
Perdóname. ¿Cuánto tiempo llevas en relaciones?
3 años. Ya pude comprar la viña.
3 años. Ella tuvo un novio, ¿no?
No sé. Creo que no. Las muchachas tienen que mirar con quién se casan.
Sí, yo no miré a nadie. Miré a tu padre y cuando lo mataron miré a la pared de enfrente. Una mujer con un hombre y ya está.
Usted sabe que mi novia es buena.
No lo dudo. De todos modos, siento no saber cómo fue su madre.
Más da.
Hijo,
¿Qué quiere usted?
que es verdad, que tienes razón. ¿Cuándo quieres que la pida?
¿Le parece bien el domingo?
Le llevaré 2 pendientes de azófar, que son antiguos, y tú le
Usted
compras...
entiende más.
Le compras unas medias caladas. Y para ti, 2 trajes. 3. No te tengo más que a ti.
Me voy. Mañana iré a verla.
Sí, sí. Y a ver si me alegras con 6 nietos, o los que te dé la gana, ya que tu padre no tuvo lugar de hacérmelos a mí.
El primero para usted.
Sí, pero que hayan niñas, que yo quiero bordar y hacer encaje y estar tranquila.
Estoy seguro que usted querrá a mi novia.
La querré. Anda, ya estás muy grande para besos, se los das a tu mujer. Cuando lo sea.
Me voy.
Que cabes bien la parte del molinillo que la tienes descuidada.
Lo dicho.
Anda con Dios.
So that was the first scene of the play. Now we're going to jump to the end of the play, the last scene between Leonardo and the bride.
Yes. So, esa fue la primera escena de la obra. Y ahora brincaremos al final de la obra para la última escena entre Leonardo y la novia.
Calla. Calla.
Desde aquí yo miré sola. Vete, quiero que te vuelvas.
Calla, digo.
Con los dientes, con las manos, como puedas. Quita de mi cuello honrado el metal de esta cadena, dejándome arrinconada allá en mi casa de tierra. Y si no quieres matarme, como a víbora pequeña, pon en mis manos de novia el cañón de la escopeta. Ay, qué lamento, qué fuego me sube por la cabeza, qué vidrios se me clavan en la lengua.
Ya dimos el paso. Calla. Porque nos persiguen cerca y te he de llevar conmigo.
Pero ha de ser a la fuerza.
A la fuerza. ¿Quién bajó primero las escaleras?
Yo las bajé.
¿Quién le puso al caballo bridas nuevas?
Yo misma, ¿verdad?
¿Y qué manos me calzaron las espuelas?
Estas manos, que son tuyas, pero que al verte quisieran quebrar las ramas azules y el murmullo de tus venas. Te quiero. Te quiero. Aparta. Que si matarte pudiera, te pondría una mortaja con los filos de violetas. Ay, qué lamento, qué fuego me sube por la cabeza.
¿Qué vidrios me clavan en la lengua? Porque yo quise olvidar y puse un muro de piedra entre tu casa y la mía. Es verdad, ¿no lo recuerdas? Y cuando te vi de lejos, me eché en los ojos arena. Pero montaba a caballo y el caballo iba a tu puerta. Con alfileres de plata mi sangre se puso negra y el sueño se me fue llenando las carnes de mala hierba. Que yo no tengo la culpa, que la culpa es de la tierra y de ese olor que te sale de los pechos y las trenzas.
Ay, que sin razón. No quiero contigo cama ni cena. Y no hay minuto del día que estar contigo no quiera. Porque me arrastras y voy. Y me dices que me vuelva y te sigo por el aire como una brisna de hierba. He dejado a un hombre duro y a toda su descendencia en la mitad de la boda y con la corona puesta. Para ti será el castigo. Y no quiero que lo sea. Déjame sola. Huye tú. No hay nadie que te defienda.
Pájaros de la mañana por los árboles se quiebran. La noche se está muriendo en el filo de la piedra. Vamos al rincón oscuro, donde yo te quiera siempre. Que no me importa la gente, ni el veneno que nos echa.
Y yo dormiré a tus pies para guardar lo que sueñas, desnuda mirando al campo, como si fuera una perra, porque eso soy, que te miro y tu hermosura me quema.
Si abraza lumbre con lumbre, la misma llama pequeña mata 2 espigas juntas. Vamos.
¿A dónde me llevas?
A donde no puedan ir esos hombres que nos cercan, donde yo pueda mirarte.
Llévame de feria en feria, dolores de mujer honrada, a que las gentes me vean con las sábanas de boda al aire como banderas.
También yo quiero dejarte, si pienso como se piensa. Pero voy donde tú vas. Tú también. Da un paso. Prueba. Clavos de luna nos funden mi cintura y tus caderas.
¿Oyes?
Viene gente.
Huye. Es justo que aquí yo muera, con los pies dentro del agua, espinas en la cabeza, y que me lloren las hojas, mujer perdida y doncella.
Cállate, ya suben.
¡Vete!
¡Silencio! Que no nos sientan. Tú delante. Vamos, digo.
Los dos juntos.
Como quieras. Si nos separan, será porque esté muerto.
Y yo muerta.
So thank you for listening to Samuel García Lorca, our favorite playwright. Buena suerte y buenas noches.
Muchas gracias.
Hey, all you at StageSource, thanks for watching. Please donate to the fundraiser today. Hey, 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 you gotta let me go with you. You don't know what it's like to be considered a freak. Well, maybe you do, but that's why we gotta stick together. No, 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 don't speak, don't speak, don't speak. Just hear me out, I might surprise you. I'll be a friend when others despise you. Don't roll your eyes, stop with the moping. You need a pal, my calendar's open. I'll bring you soup when you feel congested. I'll bail you out when you get arrested. I got your back when things get scary, and I'll shave it when it gets hairy. Don't let me go, don't let me go, don't let me go. You need me, you need me. I'll treat you right and never act shoddy. If you kill a man, I'll hide the body. What do you say? You're not responding. I think we're bonding. Don't let me go, don't let me go, don't let me go. You need me, you and me, we belong together. Like butter and grits, like kibbles and bits, like yin and yang, stir and drang, like ang and chang attached at the hip, but not an old lady hip that might break. I'm gonna be on you like a fat kid on cake. Like Cupid and Psyche, like Pop Rocks and Mikey. We'll stick together like that Velcro stuff. I'm the fuzzy side, you be the spiky. Ooh, like little kids' pajamas with those funny things at the bottom. You know, feeties, like donuts and, oh, what goes with donuts? Donuts and diabetes. Don't let me go, don't let me go, don't let me go, don't let me go. Hold me, hug me, take me please. Na 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 na, please don't let me go. I need you, 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 I need you. Don't let me go, go, no, don't let me go. Thank you.
That was a good song. I'll keep singing in a second, don't worry. Well, lip syncing. I'm lip syncing, can't you tell? I'm going to sing several songs really, really soon. None of them are mine. Nothing is mine. I am Joe. I'm transgender. That might make you nervous. Makes me nervous. You might be nervous due to transphobic thoughts you haven't unpacked, or because you think I'm cute but don't want to be distracted from this show, or you might just be feeling nervous because there are several knives lying around. When I was a child, I was very nervous because I knew I would be a serial killer, and I knew that wasn't a good thing. My parents were butchers, and so I was taught how to use a knife at an early age, and I remember once my father showing me how to bleed a pig, and I thought to myself, this is going to be a huge problem for me. But I've always rooted for the villain because they shared something within me. I couldn't name it at the time, but something deep in my anus matched them. Later, my grandmother brought me to a drive-in movie where they were showing Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. And that's when it clicked. I was a homicidal tranny. I was horrified. I didn't want to be running around in an awful dress in a terrible wig killing people. I wanted to look good. I wanna make some noise, really raise my voice. Yeah, I wanna scream and shout, yeah. No inhibitions, make no conditions. Get a little out of line, yeah. Oh, I ain't gonna act politically correct. Only wanna have a good time. The best thing about being a woman is the prerogative to have a little fun, yeah. Whoa, go totally crazy. Forget I'm a lady. Man, short skirts. Whoa, really go wild. Yeah, do it in style. Whoa, get in the action. Feel the attraction. Color my hair, do what I dare. Whoa, I wanna be free. To feel the way I feel. Man, I feel like a woman, yeah.
All the infections that the sun sucks up from bogs, fens, flats, unprosper fall and make him high-inch meola disease. His spirits hear me, and yet I needs must curse, but they'll no pinch. Fright me with urchin shows, pitch me ere the mire knoll, lead me like a firebrand in the dark, out of my way, unless he bid 'em. But for every trifle are they set upon me, sometime like apes that mow and chatter at me, and after bite me, then like hedgehogs, which lie tumbling in my barefoot way and mount their pricks at my footfall. Sometime am I all wound with adders who do hiss me into madness. Lo, now lo, here comes a spirit of his, and to torment me for bringing wood in too slowly, I'll fall flat. Perchance he will not mind me.
Have you even begun to wonder why a ladybug sports her spots? There's a lot you can tell from a ruby red shell if you look real close and connect the dots.
Have you even begun to wonder how a grasshopper twings his tune?
I put my flight on my wings.
In your symphony strings, singing love songs to the moon. Follow us and listen.
There's so much you're missing, such a lot, don't you know?
Until now, but don't you wonder how a giant peach can grow to the sky? A 6-foot earthworm catches your eye. You got to guide like the light of a firefly. Ain't it kind of crazy?
Magic spells can truly come true, and the wackiest things keep happening to you.
Have you even begun to wonder about that?
Have you even begun to wonder if a hornet can play the horn?
Can you even believe what a spider can weave? I've been spinning that silk since before you were born.
Have you even begun to wonder why a beetle can't beat the blues? 'Cause I'll never compete with my 38 feet. I got lace wings lacing my shoes. Follow us and listen.
There's so much you're missing,
Such a lot you thought you got until now. But don't you wonder how a giant peach can grow to the sky? A 6-foot earthworm catches your eye.
You got to unite like the light of a firefly.
Ain't it kind of crazy? Magic spells can truly come true, and the wackiest things keep happening to you. Have you even begun to wonder about that?
sweet, 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 sweet.
Sway your sweet up, oh, gabba-dabba-dabba-doo-dee, wow, 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 wow.
Follow us and listen. Dance break. There's so much you're missing. Such a lot you thought you got
Until now.
until now.
Until now.
Until now. You can cast a spell like a magical man, or sail on beach like a catamaran. The world can change because we believe it can. All your dreams can truly come true, and the wackiest things keep on happening to you. Have you even begun to wonder?
Have you even begun to wonder?
Have you even begun to wonder about that? About that?
Ba-da-doo-bop, sway your sweet up,
About that?
wow, 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 wow.
Have you even begun to wonder about that?
We are dumb.
Hi, friends!
Jazz hands.
Jazz hands, jazz hands. Wasn't that just phenomenal?
Yeah, it was great. Shall I continue?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That was the last of our
Okay, here's the
performances.
question for all of you out there. Have you ever begun to wonder how StageSource gets it done? Well, look what you witnessed today. All day long. I hope a lot of you were able to take advantage of the incredible conversations, classes, lessons, people that we got to see. And they're all part of this amazing community that we live in. So on behalf of the StageSource team, we want to thank every single actor and artist and host and performer and teacher and on and on and on. We were so lucky to have everyone with us today, and we really are part of a very inspirational community. Wouldn't you say so, Davron?
You're muted. Oh, first one in the Zoom.
Look, we had to wait till the last hour for somebody to do it. Old man right here did it. Yeah. Anyway, what I was trying to say was I just wanted to give a shout out to some of those performances and performers. Yewande, wonderful job. Wonderful job, Antonio and Carla. Yeah, wonderful job, Arthur. Come on, bruh. Singing that stuff like that. Wonderful job, cast of the James and the Giant Peach. And I'm going back to you, Jasmine, since you're on the screen. You did that thing, sis. You did it. Thank you. So, yes, if you are here with us all day, thank you so much for being a part. Thank you to StageSource for being our life jacket, for fighting for us, the actors and the artists of the New England theater community. Thank you for fighting for us every day. We are grateful for everything that you do.
Certainly. We want to thank every single person out there who gave today. Whatever you could, it is all appreciated. We thank you so much for being a part of keeping StageSource alive.
Oh, yeah. And, just because we're wrapping up does not mean that you cannot continue to donate. Yeah. So please do, like we were saying earlier, call your mom, your dad, your baby mamas, your baby daddies, your enemies, your best friends. Have them log in and give a little donation. Every little bit counts. $1, 50 cents, 100, 1,000. We'll take it.
Love that 1,000.
Love that 1,000.
Indeed.
So yes, thank you to both of you, Davron and Karen. Thank you to all of our hosts, all of the individuals who came and support us today. We are eternally grateful. This was, our first time attempting an event like this. Thank you for your patience and your grace to everyone who sort of stuck by and watched us loop videos for minutes at a time as we figured things out. I also want to say thank you to our phenomenal team. I want to say thank you to Dawn for always, continuing to push us. Thank you to Gina for being the amazing tech wizard and behind the scenes and doing all of this. I would also want to say thank you to all of our interns and co-ops, to Devin, to Zoe, to Julia, to all you guys who sort of helped get us here to this day. We could not, this is a team effort, right? Full on. And so that's why I just want to say thank you so much. And that's all, folks. Take your drinks that you made with the Singletaries.
Take your drinks.
Enjoy the rest of the evening. And we'll catch you at our next programs. If you missed any of the performances today, we will be releasing some of them later on today, later on this week. So feel free.
Oh, and what can they do, Jazz, after they see that video or the thing that they missed? What?
Donate.
Yes.
You should donate.
We will be here for the rest of the month in ways large and small, trying to make up that gap that we've got. So we are so appreciative to everybody who was able to give today. And if you weren't, or if you know somebody who should, please let them know they can donate to us anytime. Anyway, visit us on the web at stagesource.org. You can come back to this link, Stand By StageSource Live. We'll have that up for a little while and you can donate here. Yeah, we've got magic to do just for you. And we need your help to do it. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, good night.
Awesome.
Good night. Good night.